This is my planet. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176 Mirror. Xia Guixuan originally thought that Maya's efficiency was still amazing. She had just sent the miners away and came back so soon. It was not until he returned to Maya's main ship that he found that a lot of people had not left. Except for humans and descendants of gods who had returned to the Kanglong star field and were sent to the Donglan defense zone for acceptance, at least half of the other various cosmic races stayed behind. Seeing Xia Guixuan coming back, they all kowtowed devoutly, speaking the languages of different civilizations, noisy but solemn. Maya explained, some people went to the trade and gathering star, found the people and left, some people couldn't find the people at all, and some were abducted by pirates from other more distant star systems, and they don't even know where their hometown is. Seeing Xia Guixuan and Ling Moxa looking at him sideways, Maya quickly slapped himself in the face. We, the poisonous fungus pirates, never do such unscrupulous things. I don't know who wanted to sell the delicate woman before. Ling Moxa didn't expose it. It's impossible to expect pirates not to have some bad deeds of being torn apart by 5 horses. The master uses them for convenience, not to really collect servants. In a trance, he remembered the time when he was subdued by the master. It seems to be similar. Ling Moxa bit her lower lip and said nothing, her mind wandering somewhere else. Xia Guixuan was sneering at Maya. So you want to take over these people in the name of my servants and expand your scattered pirate group, right? Maya wiped the cold sweat. To be honest, sir, it is true. There's indeed some such idea, but it is not the main thing. Huh? Maya said carefully, these miners are weak and not fierce. It will take a lot of effort for us to train them into qualified pirates. At most, they will be loyal. To be honest, the ore we robbed from the Red Moon mine star this time, even if we don't make a fortune, at least there will be no problem in recruiting people to expand a few ships. So we may not need this group of people, it is not the main purpose. Xia Guixuan's expression eased slightly, nodded and said, go on, the most important reason is that I think you may be able to use it. Maya said, these various creatures, involving this star field, distant star fields, and even I don't know if they are from other planes. They possess different knowledge and specialties. I think they will be really useful to you. Hiss. Ling Moxa leaned back. You really think about my master wholeheartedly? Maya's eyes were sincere and loyal. Of course, I am the most loyal steward of the master. Bah, Ling Moxa is too lazy to pay attention to it. In fact, if you think about it, you can understand. What principles do these pirates have? Maybe they were the overlords who roamed the world before, but now they are scattered and their spirits are different. Seeing the terrifying power of Xia Guixuan disrupting the galaxy, and this god of the Azure Dragon does not seem to have a team of gods, but only a female sword servant by his side. If you don't hold this thigh early, when are you waiting? Zelter is also its enemy. Holding this thigh can continue to take revenge and pick up various bargains. I don't know if the master will accept such a cunning and bad guy. But Xia Guixuan smiled kindly. Well done, you are thoughtful. Moi was overjoyed. I am willing to serve you, sir. Xia Guixuan nodded and said, I will observe the war situation between Zelter and Kanglong Star during this time. Do you have any suitable observation area to recommend? Moi thought for a while. Just go to the gathering star we sent them before. It is not too far away. It is also a third-party force and is not involved in the war. The disadvantage is that it is far away from the center of the war, and the information we know may be very biased. But it will definitely not be a problem for you, sir. Xia Guixuan followed suit. Okay, let's go there first. Arrange a rest cabin for me. Moi immediately patted his chest. The best cabin here has been prepared for you, sir. Moi's rest cabin is more luxurious than the Marshal's rest cabin on the flagship of the Galaxy battleship. Guangxin Jiayu's rest cabin makes people feel petty bourgeoisie, clean and elegant at most. Almost all the furnishings in the rest cabin here are made of treasures, even the mattresses are interwoven with star silk, and there is a lot of light and rich spiritual energy everywhere. If Moi said, it is sufficient cosmic energy. The carpet is a cloud-like satin brocade, and it feels like walking on the clouds. The curtains are woven with neon, and they brush past like the breeze. They use a system product similar to the Immortal way. The seats are streamlined and fit, like water warmth, soothing every inch of skin and activating cell vitality. They use a technology system. No matter where you go, there is an automatic voice-controlled follow-up system. If you need something, you only need to say a word, and it will slowly float from the invisible conveyor belt and be delivered directly to your hands. Xia Guixuan ordered 2 glasses of wine. Watching the crystal cup floating in the air, the wine aroma overflowed. Xia Guixuan took it and handed Ling Moxu a glass, and said nothing, standing by the window to look at the view of the universe. The universe is vast and beautiful at first glance, but once you sail in the universe for a long time, it may make people boring and crazy. Because there is nothing, everything is nothingness, and it will always be a shining star in the far distance, confused and boundless, not knowing where you are, and where the goal is. It's like humans are always under the night sky, or sailors sailing in the endless sea. Excited at first, crazy after a long time. It's also like the search for the way. Ling Moxu stood beside him silently, sipping wine brewed by an unknown method. The warm and tipsy feeling made her cells active. But her mood was not active. After watching the universe for a long time, the scenery that never changed, Ling Moxu finally sighed and broke the silence. Do you really want to trust this pirate? No, we'll use it first if we can. We really need a guide, Xia Guixuan said. It should be the enemy of my anonymous apprentice. How can I trust it casually? Ling Moxu seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. That's good. They have done many evil things. Xia Guixuan glanced at her. Ling Moxu's eyes were a little evasive, and she lowered her head to look at the wine. I am different from before. Is it because of the different practice or the different position? I don't know. Ling Moxu pursed her lips and thought for a long time, then said in confusion, I also know that what I did today has caused a lot of trouble to the master and destroyed the overall plan. Especially the Red Moon. The master didn't want to alert the enemy at first, and he was fighting for me, to protect me. Xia Guixuan smiled and said. Nothing, Ling Moxu whispered. Thank you. Xia Guixuan stretched out his hand to lift her chin, stroked her lips, and chuckled. If you really want to thank me, shouldn't you express it with actions? I don't know why, although I am very used to it, and even intentionally asking for punishment, Ling Moxu still felt humiliated and sad at this moment. His attitude still regards me as the same as Maya. Use me first if you can. I really need a toy. You are still someone's enemy. Almost every word he said about Maya matched his own. I don't know why I am so sad. Isn't it natural? I said before that I wouldn't care about you if you don't have the power. Everyone gets what they need, right? It's because of his actions of stirring up the galaxy and blasting back the Red Moon, the doting of do whatever you want. That kind of dependence and tenderness are just self-deceiving feelings. In fact, all he wants is a female slave who can serve him, and just such thanks. Comparing with Maya, it's like seeing himself. The reference is too obvious, as if looking in the mirror, seeing all the truth, shattering the self-deceiving tenderness. Is that so? Xia Guixuan didn't know for a moment that this seemingly firm and resolute swordsman was actually hurting himself at this moment. He just teased him, and what he was thinking in his heart was quite serious. In fact, you did a good job today, and it is also a reward. Let me think. No need. Ling Moxu's voice trembled a little. Xia Guixuan looked at her in astonishment, only to see that her eyes were slightly red, and she bowed her head gently. The master has given me enough. Enough. The suppressed crying voice finally failed to hold back the tears, and a drop of water gently fell on the carpet, splashing a little ripple in the depths of the clouds. I'm sorry. Ling Moxu slowly knelt down. I'm sorry to spoil the master's fun. I'll thank you right away. Xia Guixuan reached out and grabbed her arm, stopping her from kneeling. Ling Moxu looked up, and Xia Guixuan reached out and gently wiped away the tears on her face. Silly, you and me. Ling Moxu stared at him blankly, not knowing what he meant at this moment. Xia Guixuan stretched out his hands and gently embraced her in his arms, resting his chin on her forehead, and whispered, I am a fool, thinking that you like this kind of fun. I can't get over it myself. You are also a fool, thinking that I gave up the follow-up plan just for the slave girl service. His chin slowly moved down and turned into a kiss on her forehead, his voice becoming softer and softer. Do you really think I'm so boring? Of course, it's just because. That's Ling Moxu. No tonight, tomorrow. Chapter 177. It's different. Ling Moxu stood there in a daze, feeling the warmth on her forehead and his gentle words. It felt like something sour, bitter, and sweet was smashed in my heart, spreading and rising to my throat, but I couldn't say it. This is a love word. Xia Guixuan, who always looked like a slave owner playing with a slave girl, said a love word for the first time, and it also contained a very obvious apology. But he couldn't seem to say a straightforward apology, and it turned out like this. But it sounded much better than an apology. Ling Moxu wanted to apologize a little bit. She was really stupid. After the war, he kissed her in public. He didn't need to say his love at all. He didn't care about the plan being stranded at all. Instead, he was very happy. But she was stimulated by Maya's mirror reference and had wild thoughts. This kind of worry and fear is clearly not what she originally thought, succumbing to power and serving him for his benefits. He was not just tied to his side because he had a beautiful slave girl to serve him. It's because you are Xia Guixuan, because you are Ling Moxu. Is it too fast? Ling Moxu actually had such a weird idea in his mind, and he even wondered if he was a psychopath. Too fast? I have swallowed that, and now I suddenly feel that the relationship is progressing too fast. No, Ling Moxu suddenly stammered. I just like that kind of fun. What is the master talking about? I just got sand in my eyes. Xia Guixuan opened his eyes slightly and pretended to look into her eyes. Oh, this sand is quite powerful. Can it bully my little slave girl? Isn't it just a fool bullying a little slave girl? Ling Moxu whispered softly. Then, I really want to bully her now. Xia Guixuan stretched out his hand and took the wine glass from Ling Moxu's hand. Ling Moxu only then realized that the two of them had been holding the wine glass for a long time. This was really confusing. The wine glass and the wine changed in Xia Guixuan's hand, slowly turning into a crystal hairpin, with amber faintly flowing in it, beautiful and magnificent. You said the reward was enough, but I said it was not enough. It was all about strength before. I have never given a woman a gift like the Holy Blood Sword Pill or Zunil Sword Pill. Xia Guixuan slowly inserted the crystal hairpin into her hair and said with a smile, Mo Xian, you are so crude. After I modified the ingredients, the amber here is not wine. Ling Moxu felt that even if it was wine, it was enough. But for some reason, she still said in a mysterious way, Don't think of cheating into the bed like this, too fast. I have to say this even if I am considered crazy. Ling Moxu clenched her fists. Xia Guixuan laughed dumbly and lowered his head to peck her lips. Ling Moxu was almost numb, and she thought it didn't seem fast. But she heard Xia Guixuan softly say, Moxu, Ling Moxu opened her eyes. Do you know who is the closest to me in the world by blood? Ling Moxu's heart skipped a beat, and she pointed at her nose with a questioning look. Yet, haha, Xia Guixuan laughed, you are full of my blood. Even my own daughter doesn't have such a blood concentration. It's almost catching up with their fission. Ling Moxu was stunned. When she knew that he was the father god of God, she only considered why she surrendered, and completely forgot that there was this nature. In other words, an ancient man, did some very messy things. Xia Guixuan blinked his eyes. Isn't it too bad, bah? Ling Moxu said angrily. Beast. Xia Guixuan smiled. Next time I see Xia Guixuan, I will ask her if she has some other blood suitable for you, and make some fusion adjustments for you. It will be more conducive to your sword cultivation direction, and also what? Ling Moxu was embarrassed and angry. Is it convenient to sleep with you? Xia Guixuan said indifferently. If it is just for the convenience of sleeping with you, who cares about your blood? I'm a primitive man. Ling Moxu bit her lower lip, and suddenly said in a charming voice, I know, if half of it is neutralized, she will look more like a daughter. This is your idea, Xia Guixuan, otherwise, you didn't say also, at the end, what did you want to say? It is also to let you think about it carefully. After the influence of the blood is neutralized, whether your mind is still the same as today. Ling Moxu was stunned. My thoughts? He seemed to have misunderstood. We have been master and servants for such a long time, and this bloodline should have nothing to do with it. I have never been close to or obedient because of the influence of bloodline. It was indeed a trigger at the beginning, but the subsequent events really have nothing to do with it. After practicing to the current level, it is impossible not to figure out whether my bloodline has affected my mind. That is my own blood. If I can't figure it out, how can I practice, and what kind of heart can I have for the sword? There is absolutely no influence. But he is not me. From his perspective, you are full of my blood. Maybe there will be some influence from this. With a relationship today, it is better to distinguish it clearly. With a relationship today, what is the relationship today? He has begun to care. The point of caring is quite strange. Why do I feel that he is a little cute? Ling Moxu's eyes were full of charm again. She took the initiative to put her arms around his waist and said softly, before neutralizing the other bloodlines, "Don't you want to take the opportunity to bully your little slave girl again?" Xia Guixuan put his hands on his hips. "It's the same after neutralization. Why not take advantage of the opportunity? Are you sure? What did you want me to call it that time?" Ling Moxu's eyes became more charming. "Master or daddy?" Xia Guixuan hissed and took a step back. Ling Moxu took a step forward, and Xia Guixuan took another step back. After 2 or 3 steps, he reached the edge of the bed and fell down. Ling Moxu was full of energy and the little slave girl finally stood up. Xia Guixuan sat there and looked at her condescending smile, and suddenly asked, "So are you the master or the father now?" Ling Moxu was stunned for a moment, and muttered, "Master," Xia Guixuan said with a straight face. "Didn't you say to thank him with actions just now?" "I knew it." Ling Moxu leaned into his arms, leaned over and kissed his cheek, and then kissed his neck. "What reward? A gift for a woman, neutralizing blood. Isn't it just a deception to serve?" Xia Guixuan didn't say anything this time, but touched her head to show encouragement. Xia Guixuan's eyes fell on the porthole, the distant night, the endless void. He knew that he was different. The long journey of seeking the Tao has been completely reversed today, and he has become Xia Guixuan, who is unimaginable whether it was Queen Xia, the Immortal Emperor, or as a hard-working traveler. He even felt that he could no longer be called Xia Guixuan. "Originally, I was from the Xia family, and I belonged to the Zuanmen, so I was named Xia Guixuan. Now I look like this. What should I call it? Sitekang? No, Sitekang is not so gentle and caring. It's like he put all the selves in all periods together and turned into a brand new person. But it is obvious that the injury is getting better and better. There are thousands of ways, just like observing the lines in the palm of your hand. The universe is boundless, but it is only an inch of the spiritual platform. There is only a thin line away from returning to the peak. P.S. This chapter is a bit short and it was difficult to write, because the previous 3 chapters 148, 159, and 162 were reported and included, which made this chapter written with trepidation. But it was still revised and released. Don't worry, everyone, I'm used to it. By the way, today is the last day of this month, and I'll continue to ask for double monthly tickets. There will be extra chapters in the evening. Chapter 178, Spread Your Wings. Don't underestimate the fine line between them. On the surface, it seems that they can exert 90% of their strength, but in fact, there is a lot of difference. Whether or not one reaches that line determines whether some methods can be used smoothly. Under normal circumstances, it seems nothing, but when facing an opponent of the same level, it may be the difference between life and death. If he was still at his peak, Xia Guixuan might take the initiative to chase the Red Moon, but now he has stopped and maintained a certain tacit understanding with the opponent, not to provoke more. Another example is the young demon. Xia Guixuan looked down on it before, and now that he has recovered, he looks down on it even more, but he will not be careless when he is injured, because the opponent is too clear anyway. If you can avoid competing, you will try your best to avoid it. The instinct of laziness and risk avoidance will prevail, not to mention taking the initiative to go to danger. You will never consider it unless it is necessary. It's human nature. So Xia Guixuan is still slowly gathering the refining materials to deal with the young demon. In fact, it is also for the refining of his Junte sword. His regular magic weapon cannot only be his own wounding. The Junte sword has a hilt, plus a large number of fragments brought back by Xia Guixuan before, it can be reforged. The purpose of Guixuan star steel is to strengthen. It is one of the hardest ores in the universe. It contains a little fire and has a lasting effect of attached damage. It has a better restrictive significance for the body that can be revived and reshaped like the dark demon. The other 2 materials are Chongyang wood hard and Sun Zhengjin, all of which are of light nature and are specially used to defeat the dark demon. The 5 elements of fire, wood and gold are for the consideration of refining equipment. Refining a magic weapon is not just about stacking attributes. When Xia Guixuan refines the treasures used in taking instrument, they are of course extremely scarce, just like Guixuan star steel. Most planets do not produce it, and the entire Red Moon Mine Star only produces a little bit of it. For the Zelt tribe, it is not for sale. Chongyang wood hard and Sun Zhengjin are of course special creations that are difficult to find. There is no whereabouts for the time being. According to Xia Guixuan, there will be an auction in a while, and you can go and have a look. But now this trade fair star can also go out and have a look. Who knows if there will be unexpected gains, or you may find some more useful auxiliary materials. So when they got there, Xia Guixuan took Ling Moxa out for a walk. Moya was leading the way, and Ling Moxa followed behind him, holding her sword straight, not looking sideways, as if she was not the same person as the little slave girl who had served him so attentively just now. Xia Guixuan did not look sideways, but looked straight ahead at the market. Moxu, there's a stain on your chest, wipe it off. Ling Moxu's cool and straight look was instantly broken, and she was about to wipe it off in a panic, but found that there was nothing at all. She couldn't help but say angrily, how can you be a master and a god like this? Even elementary school students don't have the habit of pulling people's ponytails to make them angry. I just told you not to be so tense. Isn't going out shopping something that women like more? I don't like it. I was wondering, have you never been shopping before? Or was that a long time ago? Ling Moxu was stunned, and subconsciously wanted to scratch her head. It seems so. When she was a celebrity singer, it was not appropriate for her to go shopping in person. She would either ask her assistant to choose clothes or go to the VIP counters of some family clubs for special services. That was completely different from going shopping. After becoming a sword cultivator, she was really less interested in external things, even including the seemingly tempting gifts for women from her master. In fact, she didn't feel as much as she imagined. Ling Moxu doubted that if she continued like this, she would go from being a celebrity who valued appearance the most to an ascetic monk who valued appearance the least. It was like a world-shaking polarity. Xia Guixuan said, I'm not suggesting that you give up your current focus on sword cultivation and learn from me to seek your true nature. After all, I have deeply felt that this is a different time and different people have different paths. My previous determination that your path might be biased is also unknown. Relatively speaking, your sword path is still affected by external things, such as the sword Pilinzu and Nidal sword that I gave you. You should probably re-examine whether your path is as it appears now. Ling Moxa tilted his head and said, Master, are you afraid that you have taught me the wrong way? Xia Guixuan said seriously, yes. The path cannot be neglected. Ling Moxu thought for a while, and suddenly smiled. Then does the master like to see the swordsman Ling Moxu? Xia Guixuan said honestly, yes. Just before on the Red Moon Mine Star, he said to Maya, look, how beautiful she is now. Isn't she much more beautiful than when she stood behind me and called me master? Xia Guixuan knew that he liked the kind of valiant and resolute swordsman Ling Moxu, so there was no need to deny it. Ling Moxu smiled slightly. Since the master likes this, then this road is the real road. There is no need to look for other roads. Xia Guixuan stared at her smile in a daze. Ling Moxu quickly frowned. Because I'm too lazy to change, it's fine like this. As if she was embarrassed by Xia Guixuan's gaze, she tilted her head slightly. If you want to buy something, just go buy it. You are obviously a slave owner who enjoys the feeling of having a beautiful girl guarding you with a sword, but you still pretend to win people's hearts. Xia Guixuan finally smiled. Beautiful girl, what's the tone of that? Am I not a girl? At least my virginity was not cheated away by the slave owner? Xia Guixuan touched her head. Yes, Axu. After speaking, he turned around and continued to move forward. Ling Moxu was stunned and chased after him. Hey, the heroine Axu was cheated of her virginity. This rubbish author always plays Axu in the following chapters. Don't think I don't understand your innuendo. Xia Guixuan had already disappeared in the crowd. Ling Moxu muttered bitterly, come to think of it, the author seems to have become a eunuch. I bought a copyright, can I sue her? Let her flirt in the game, and call her brother Takang. Bah, the heroine, don't even call her that. When will it be her turn? Guangsun Jiu sneezed. Marshal, did you catch a cold? Take care of yourself. In the conference room, a group of generals sighed. This marshal is good in everything, but his personal strength is really weak. He will be 29 years old after the Chinese New Year, and he is still a third-level warrior. He has not improved at all. This is considered backward among slightly motivated soldiers, let alone the marshal. However, everyone understands that the marshal is busy and cannot be distracted. Moreover, his talents are different. His military command ability and strategic vision really make many veterans convinced, just like this time. As he expected beforehand, even Daxia itself did not expect to attack at this time. How could Zelter expect it? At this time, Zelter was still licking his wounds, investigating the responsibility for being annihilated by the enemy last time, and launching a new round of explosion. The outer defense line was loose and leaky. Guangxin Jiayu only sent a fleet to sneak attack a small external mining star, which caused the entire defense line to be in a mess, and then occupied the core energy base of Slorg in the external defense zone in one fell swoop. The energy supply was cut off, which was a heavy blow to Zelter's outer defense line. This not only caused problems with the energy of Zelter's warships, but also caused the photon turrets they deployed on various celestial bodies to only be able to store enough backup energy for firing. The threat power was completely different, and the entire defense line was like diarrhea. Guangxin Jiayu stationed at the Slorg energy base while allocating fighters to go out and plunder various mining stars. He robbed and left, and only robbed but did not occupy, using the ghost fighter army as pirates. After just 2 or 3 days, the morale, running in, training, and trust that everyone had been worried about were all resolved. The new army, composed of surrendered soldiers and the original fleet, was in high spirits, and they shouted, "Marshal, give the order quickly, we still have to rob him." Guangxin Jiayu began to withdraw all the troops at this time, operating the Slorg energy base and mining energy for his own use. In the second hour of his withdrawal, the Zelter reinforcements arrived. The marshal's prediction was like opening the eyes of heaven. The soldiers were convinced. According to the current results, it is actually a big profit to retreat now. All the energy minerals have made a lot of money, and the training effect has also been excellent. But Guangxin Jiayu obviously did not intend to make a quick buck and then withdraw. That's a pirate move. Our previous looting was to raise our war force and train our troops. Don't really think we are pirates. Guangxin Jiayu officially announced a new strategic goal at the military meeting. The enemy came to our aid in a hurry, and the mutual support is a flaw. As long as we defeat this mobile force, this Slorg war zone 5,000 light-years away will be our grasslands for galloping. P.S. Thanks to Brother Bath 07 for joining the alliance. The number of alliance leaders has reached 67. Chapter 179 How to Kill the God. At this time, Guangxin Jiayu had not made any plan to defeat Zelter in one fell swoop, and he had not even thought about crippling him. As I said to Xia Guixuan before, it was riding a horse and driving for a long time, drawing the star map in person. That was to invade a place that humans and the descendants of gods had never reached for more than 200 years, and to understand the situation of the entire star field. From then on, the situation began to change from passive defense, so that human warships also had the opportunity to fly into the range of Zelter. From then on, the tactics were more diverse, the offensive and defensive choices were more varied, and the opponent could no longer come and go so arrogantly. Then the goal of their generation of soldiers was probably completed, and left for future generations. Ideally, it would be left for the future when they are more mature and humans and the descendants of gods are more united. As for the real wave of counterattacks against Zelter, to be honest, the possibility is too small, almost zero. Not to mention anything else, just looking at the reinforcements that came in a hurry from the other side, that is a vast sea of stars, so many that Guangxin Jiayu was amazed. It is hard to imagine that after just annihilating the main army, thinking that it was the weakest period of the opponent's mobile forces, so many troops could still emerge in the rear star field in just a few days, which is like cheating. Zelter's ability to explode troops is evident. And it's not shoddy. There are many advanced species, just like the defense of the Red Moon Mine Star can be evenly matched with Lingmoxu. How many mammoths are there in this Slorg war zone? This cognition puts a lot of psychological pressure on Guangxin Jiayu, but he is also sure that Zelter's ability to explode troops is not endless, as can be seen from the chaos of the current support. As long as this mobile force is defeated. If it succeeds, we will ride on the horse and drive forward, and if it fails, we will retreat to Donglan. He has another goal in mind that he can't tell the soldiers directly. He wants to find the Dark Demon and annihilate it before Xia Guixuan. The location of the plane rift where the Dark Demon is located, even if it can be relocated, must be within the scope of the Slorg star field, and it will definitely not be too far. He also told Xia Guixuan before he did. It's not aimed at Xia Guixuan. For the sake of mankind's path to taking, we cannot rely on Xia Guixuan's protection, nor can we decide everything based on his mood and emotions, regressing to the God blesses the people of thousands of years ago. Here, I am the great marshal of mankind. Guangxin Jiayu stood at the energy base, quietly looking at the galaxy in the distance, and there seemed to be Xia Guixuan's smiling face in the galaxy. You support me, right? The human being in your heart should have this aspiration, he sighed in a low voice. It's a pity, Although I admire such a human being in my heart, this human being is ultimately in conflict with God. Personal relationship will never be good anyway. If this person is not me, unfortunately now, it can only be me, Marshall. The guards hurried over from behind. The third cruise fleet encountered the Zeld High Priest group. According to the information learned from the prisoners before, this is most likely their professional god-killing priest group. Marshall, don't stand outside the celestial body, return to the ship to be safe. Are you finally here? Gongs and Jiu did not hesitate. Turned back to the ship, let the third fleet return, prepare EMP shock waves, prepare energy disintegration cannons, prepare electromagnetic radiation, and the information analysis team is fully in place. I want to see how their energy combination technology kills gods. What dares to call itself a god-killing gun? Xia Guixuan was shopping, listening to the big-eared aliens introducing their black technology in a building complex of unknown planetary technology. This gun doesn't do direct damage, big ears introduced with saliva flying, but it makes the energy in the opponent's body backfire. You should know that most gods are energy bodies, or spiritual bodies, not flesh and blood, right? Energy backlash means that it is disordered, and no magic or divine power can be used. The goddess can only be taken away by you. Wait a minute, Xia Guixuan weighed the gun and tossed it. First of all, if it is a god with an energy body or a spiritual body, it doesn't even have a physical body. What do you want to do with a ball of energy? Conquering gods always has a different kind of pleasure, and it doesn't necessarily require a physical body. Then, secondly, how can you hit the gods with a gun? Big Ears whispered, this gun can change its appearance, such as turning into a small needle. You can pretend to surrender, be a slave or something like that and follow her side, and when she is not paying attention, quietly shoot her kidney. Maya, Ling Moxu, Xia Guixuan laughed and said, do you really think the thoughts of gods are a joke? You're taking advantage of the situation when no one is paying attention. Can you really sell this? Yes, I have sold it. You know the big head pirates, they're a notorious group. They've bought it before. They must have killed gods before, otherwise how could they have grown so big? Maya on the side was sweating profusely. When did I buy this thing from you, huh? Big Ears was very curious. I'm talking about the big head pirates. What does it have to do with a mere servant like you? I'll forget it. Maya gnashed his teeth. Don't let me know who's impersonating me every day. Xia Guixuan was still asking Big Ears. Finally, are you sure that the power of your energy backlash is enough to disrupt the gods? What level of gods? Do you have any battle records to demonstrate it? Where's the demonstration? Big Ears didn't know whether to laugh or cry. We imitated the way the Zeld god-slaying priests used it. We modified it ourselves. We don't need so many people. It's top technology. Xia Guixuan was stunned. That's not bad. Buy one for fun, sir. This is obviously a ripoff. After leaving the exhibition hall, Maya was heartbroken. Why do they use a gun to simulate the high-level priests of Zelter? Xia Guixuan weighed the gun and tossed it. Just analyze the principle, sir. You have the ability to kill gods yourself. Why are you analyzing this low-level one? A stone from another mountain can be used to polish jade. Maya sighed. Sir, you have bought 70 or 80 of these things that can be used to polish jade. He swallowed a sentence. I thought I was shopping with a child and changed his statement. By the way, sir, have you never been to this kind of Starfield trade fair before? Indeed. I haven't been here. Xia Guixuan thought for a while. When I wandered the universe before, there was no such clear trade star. At most, it was the base of interstellar merchants. Has this Starfield given birth to this new gathering model in the past few hundred years? Almost. For this kind of thing, first there must be a dominant leader who can keep the situation under control, then there must be consensus among multiple parties, and there must be people to connect. It is not easy to meet all these conditions at the same time. Otherwise, a pirate group can rob and leave, and what's the point of everyone? So it's actually Zelt who is intimidating this place now. Yeah, Maya said absent-mindedly, as if thinking that Zelt is a little out of control now. Can she come to this kind of market start to grab a circle? Looking up and seeing Xia Guixuan's cold eyes, Maya suddenly bent down and smiled carefully. As for the connecting party, it is the Xiong family of the Mushroom Star domain. They have done a lot of similar things and are still holding auctions on the Little Mushroom Star. It is said that their little princess wants to use this method to collect some strange things that are not usually available, such as fragments and so on. Xia Guixuan, I think she has other visions. This method may slowly prove the godhood of commerce, At least she can go to a small world to be a god and call the wind and rain. Ling Moxu is a little curious. Can you really become a god this way? There is indeed such a way. Especially for those who have been demoted to a low-level small plane in this vast universe, it's even more so, Moya said with a bit of regret. This kind of local tyrant is really too comfortable, but it's a pity that he is so far from it. Miss Lincoln actually tried to be a sword god of a world. Ling Moxu shook her head. I am following the path of Taoism itself, not to become a god. It's meaningless. Moya smiled apologetically. You are indeed a determined practitioner. I admire you. Xia Guixuan did not comment. Apart from selling things, is there nothing else here? Yes, such a big planet is a market for trade, isn't it? Maya smiled apologetically. There is also knowledge exchange, technology exchange, information exchange. Information, yes. For example, if you want to know the current battle situation between Zelter and Kanglongstar, there must be fearless war correspondents hiding in the void to report. Whether it is false or not is another matter. Moya glanced at Ling Moxu and lowered her voice quietly. Also, there are all the boudoir secrets of Queen Zelter. Ling Moxu sneered. Don't suppress it. Who are you trying to hide from that voice? Don't think that my master is as wretched as you. What boudoir secrets are only obscene and boring perverts like to listen to? Does my master need it? Xia Guixuan, where's the information market? Take me there. P.S. The last 2 hours of 2020, asking for the last monthly ticket. Chapter 180 Star Domain Civilization. Ling Moxu's face was as cold as frosty all the way. As expected, she was very tough after pulling up her pants. She was gentle before, because that's Ling Moxu, but now she's slapped in the face. Doesn't the little slave girl have any face? What about Queen Zelter? Just think about it. The life form formed by the fusion of two civilizations is either the pure energy or pure spirit form, as Big Ear said just now, or it is an extremely ugly synthetic life. Maybe it's a female mammoth. Is she particularly interested because she's the queen? Who isn't a princess? Forget it, it's normal for the master to be interested in Zelter's information. It's all because of that treacherous Minister Maya. He doesn't talk about business but talks about boudoir secrets. Sooner or later, he will clear the Emperor's side. Maya felt the sword energy overflowing behind her, and she looked like she was going to be torn to pieces at any time. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry in her heart. This female sword servant. It seems that she has fallen in love with her master? It's really strange. Can there be love between master and servant? Pirates never believe it. They don't even believe in loyalty. I think this female sword servant is afraid of falling out of favor. So I said, women are troublesome, how can they be better than men? After a while, they arrived at a huge mechanical platform, where lights were flashing and several huge light gates stood. Xia Guixuan was somewhat surprised. Interesting space link. Maya smiled. Sir, you are indeed very discerning. This is the transit station of the Market Star. The light gates lead to different areas. After all, it is a planet crossing continents. There is no faster than this. Ling Moxu's jealousy was washed away and she was a little frightened. These alien technologies are so scary. Intercontinental portals? Although cosmic jumps are common, and many light years can be traveled in just one day, there is a reason for that. Most long-distance cosmic jumps use known space-time wormholes for special docking. The points that can be reached are based on the exits of the wormholes themselves, which belong to a fixed category, so many pirates linger at the exits of known wormholes for easy interception. Of course, those who do not pass through existing wormholes can also artificially create wormholes for space-time folding, but this requires higher requirements. You must first build an exit and create a channel in the place you have arrived, and the technical requirements are very difficult, and it will collapse if you are not careful. Generally speaking, the entrance and exit are built near two celestial bodies, which is convenient for positioning and relatively stable. This is basically the case when Daxia went to Donglan. Those are all things that happen in space. How can a wormhole be built inside a planet? The wormhole itself is almost the size of a planet. Moreover, the surrounding chaos and unstable energy overflow caused by the folding of space-time are not something that the planet can bear. How does this alien technology build a portal inside the planet? Is this magic or technology? Speaking of this, Gongsun Jiayu and his men are fighting in a brand new star field, so there must be no preset wormholes available. How can they fight a blitzkrieg in a star field that is thousands of light years away? Just relying on the speed of the battleship? That might be like a turtle crawling in someone else's home field. At this time, the special technology of the battleship must be used, teleportation to surveyable location. This is also a way of space folding. It must be based on the absolute absence of obstacles between the starting point and the destination. Otherwise, if it is tripped a little, any impact will easily cause it to overturn and be shredded by space. This technology can only be built on various space battleships. The equipment alone is as big as a building, and the material of the battleship also plays a big role. It is not something that can be moved by an individual. The energy consumed for starting is also very high, so under normal circumstances, it is still necessary to drive, especially when the war is in progress. It is not possible to flash as you want. That is a magician, not a battleship. Time and space are not so easy to play with. Otherwise, how can we say that Xia Guixuan is a god? He can descend wherever he wants in the whole Daxia. He can return to Xiajing to rescue himself in an instant even if he is thousands of miles away. But after all, scientific and technological civilization is indeed becoming more and more like this kind of divine power. If this space gates technology can be popularized in Daxia, Ling Moxu was a little lost in thought. She didn't realize that this was the first time she thought about the perspective of human society as a whole, and she began to think a little closer to Gongsun Jiu. Sure enough, people have to go out. Is the technology of this space gate in the exchangeable range? Xia Guixuan and Ling Moxu suddenly asked this question in unison. Then they looked at each other and smiled. Ling Moxu felt a little sweet in his heart, and the stern-faced sword energy had disappeared. It was great to have such a tacit understanding. Maya said, the technology is displayed here for display purposes, and it is naturally in the category of exchange. However, many people have bought it, but not many can use it. If the civilization does not have it, it is difficult to use it, or if the system is different, it is difficult to use it. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, if the system is different, other teleportation methods can be used. If the civilization does not have it, it can be left for the future. In fact, the descendants of the gods have a teleportation array mode, but of course this will not be taught to humans. Even if humans learn it, they cannot use it, and can only play it in the game. Maya said, then go to the knowledge and information exchange area, maybe you can buy something else. The three of them talked and came to a light door. Maya stuffed a piece of pure energy crystal into a device beside the door, and the light curtain on the door began to flow. Sir, come with me. One crystal will open the door for 1 minute. The experience of passing through the door was not very special, and space transfer was mostly like this, but when Ling Moxu walked out of the door, he still felt that the trip was worthwhile. From a place similar to a row of commercial buildings, in the blink of an eye, it was an area light and information technology museum, with light screens everywhere, various voices, noise and silence coexisting, human voices and electronic bands coexisting, and it was a bit dreamy in a trance. Looking up at the cursor above, there are also indicator arrows, information exchange, knowledge sharing area, concept exchange area, individual cultivation method exchange area, etc. and so on. Ling Moxu felt that the people of Daxia thought they were technologically advanced, but in fact they had been sealed as bumpkins by Zelter. This was the first time to enter the city. Not to mention the descendants of gods, who were talking about the way of the Father God day by day. It seemed that he was now. Ling Moxu looked at the individual cultivation method exchange area in a trance, and subconsciously followed Xia Guixuan and walked towards the information exchange. The so-called exchange, of course, is not a small house, but a huge metal building covering several hectares. Ling Moxu saw at a glance the role of isolating the band conduction, upgraded sound insulation, isolation from divine thoughts and prying, etc. There are also countless areas inside the building, and many small quiet room facilities are used to exchange private information. There is also a relatively public information area. If you take out pure energy crystals and go in, you can get a widely publicized share. There is a large video exhibition hall on the right. The light screen outside the door flashes, the live broadcast and sharing of the battle between Zelter and Kang Longstar. 3 crystals to enter. The 3 people took out money and put it into the instrument at the door. The door opened a little and the 3 people flashed in. Not to mention Ling Moxu, even Xia Guixuan thought it was very interesting and was very excited all the way. Whenever such new things are shown, he can get pleasure. When you get inside, it is an immersive 3-dimensional image, as if you are also in the starry sky battlefield, floating far away, watching the confrontation in the distance. It's just a little blurry, The legendary touching picture quality, even the types of warships are not easy to distinguish. After all, it is an image that was secretly filmed and transmitted at the risk of death. I don't know how this war correspondent lurks in the void without being discovered by the warring parties. What's even more interesting is that there is obviously more than one war correspondent, but many, because this battle was not fought in one place. Guangxin Jiu sent troops to plunder and fight everywhere, so the images were divided into multiple areas. If you step to the left, it's the mining star that's fighting. If you step to the right, it's the energy base that's on fire, and if you look up, it's the chase in the starry sky. Xia Guixuan looked at the selection button on the light screen and pressed the personal copy mode, watch from the beginning, then the image quickly flowed back and froze in the initial vast sea of stars, with no one around. The bow of a pioneer cruiser appeared in everyone's field of vision, as if it was rolling over you. The display of civilization is quite difficult to write. This chapter made my hairline move up. Chapter 181 Information Wind Media. The entire process of Guangxin Jiu's battle is almost completely reflected here. How to raid the mining planet, pull the defense line, and then seize the energy base after making a feint to the east and attacking in the west. How to plunder everywhere, fight to support the war, temporarily solve the problem of insufficient resources brought by the hasty attack, and use Zelter's supplies to fight Zelter. There were also local failures and losses of fighters, but overall it was very successful, like a beautiful net, spread out and retracted. The operation of tens of thousands of fleets was like a line tied to the Slorg energy center, as if they were using their arms and fingers. Even Xia Guixuan and Ling Moxu, who were not experts in the art of interstellar warfare, could feel that this kind of command was not as simple as it looked on the surface, as if anyone could do it by saying a few words. Actual operation is an art. Especially in the opponent's star field, it was a star field that Daxia had never set foot in. It was completely an incomplete star map obtained based on the descriptions of former captives, and there was no wormhole channel built by itself. It was completely on-the-spot response. Not to mention Daxia, in the entire star field, there are not many people who can make such precise commands under the premise of such a lack of conditions. They are all famous generals and commanders who are feared by all. Sometimes there are very sad scenes, not the sadness of Daxia, but the sadness of this influence hall. The scene in a certain area went black, and then a sad report was broadcast. Our reporter was crushed to death by the escaping Zelter warship, and there was no time to dodge. Xia Guixuan, Moi whispered. In fact, most of these black screens are intentional. For example, when the war is very fierce, they dare not approach, and they are afraid that it will be useless to take pictures of the flames from a distance, and they will be scolded. It is better to pretend to be dead and not be able to finish the shooting. It can also increase the credibility of their other information. It is a sacrifice. In fact, some of them are not taken on the spot, but are made, otherwise how can they be filmed at such a close distance? Ling Moxu, that's why I said before that the information we know may be very biased, and we can't believe it completely. It can only be used as a reference. Got it? Xia Guixuan smiled. Moi is not bad, you are knowledgeable. Moi smiled. I have only been in the Star Sea for a few more years, but I can't compare with you. Master's magical powers. Xia Guixuan's eyes fell on the last image. Zelter reinforcements from all directions rushed to the Slorg war zone like a tide, and the energy base occupied by Guangxin Jiu seemed to be surrounded. Among the reinforcements, there were a group of strange life forms, dark red, white, hanging in the sky like a cloth bag, and a very high-tech metal fighter plane, whose function and type were unknown. High-level priest group? Bang! Black screen. Our brave gold medal reporter died of a heart explosion. Everyone mourns for 3 seconds. I wanted to see how the priest group fought, but I didn't see it. I wanted to see how Guangxin Jiu responded to the reinforcements coming from all directions, but I still didn't see it. But Xia Guixuan was already satisfied, and did not join the mourning in the hall, and turned to leave. Are these battlefield photographers a special group? Yes, Maya introduced beside him. A kind of cosmic starworms, invisible to the naked eye, but in fact they are everywhere in the universe. Some of them have become spiritual and formed civilized groups. If you go to their settlements, it's like going to a bacterial country, which is very interesting. Ling Moxa couldn't help but say, such a small life can also develop technological civilization. Maya glanced at her. In the eyes of some lives, you and I are not much bigger than bacteria. Shouldn't they also ask similar questions? Ling Moxu was silent for a moment, then nodded. You are right, Maya was a little surprised. She thought she was going to be chopped because of a stab, but it turned out that this woman was quite reasonable. It couldn't help but slow down its tone. In fact, the starworms are not a technological civilization. They mainly rely on their talents, which is no different from many races that practice physical cultivation. They cooperate with other civilizations, transmit what they know and see, and then make such three-dimensional images. They don't make them themselves. I see. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, these third-party civilizations are very courageous. In the Zelt star field, they leaked the course of Zelt's war. In fact, Zelt has acquiesced in the past, because they are the ones who show off the power. This kind of dissemination can be regarded as a deterrent to other races for them. Maya chuckled. Who knows that this time they are in such a mess? It's not easy for the Kanglong people. They are quite separated from the cosmic civilization, but they have also developed a set of new things on their own, especially in terms of war power. I don't know about other directions, Ling Moxu said slowly. It was forced by Zelter, and the technology was focused on war. In addition, some cultivation-related things were combined, such as the teleportation ability of warships, which was developed based on the teleportation of monks. There was no such thing in the early years. Then there are some interstellar merchants selling technology. To put it bluntly, the Kanglong star civilization is also a confluence of multiple civilizations, and it is not too closed door, otherwise it would have been behind the times. After seeing the various civilizations of this trade star, Ling Moxu was surprised and felt a little guilty. She was really afraid that humans could not keep up. But Moichi said, which interstellar merchants dares to go to the Kanglong star region? This is prohibited by Zelter. Ling Moxu glanced at Xia Guixuan and shut up. She found that Xia Guixuan's anonymous little apprentice was quite strange, as if she had a hand in many things. Is that really a little lolly who loves her teacher? However, Xia Guixuan seemed not to have thought about this at all. Instead, he started chatting with Ling Moxu about other things with great interest. Moxu, have you discovered that no matter what civilization it is, you can actually find its shadow, or its prototype, or people's imagination in ancient things? Ling Moxu, like the direct spread of battlefield images. A long time ago, the one on the mother planet was called Jiang Hufengmei. Later he became a war correspondent, and now I don't know what to call him. Is he called Star Domain Peeping Tom? Ling Moxu smiled and said, Jiang Hufengmei, isn't it from martial arts novels? Does it really exist in reality? Yes, said Xia Guixuan. Even if it doesn't exist in reality and is only in martial arts novels, it is also one of people's imaginations, and it will materialize thousands of years later until the interstellar era becomes more mature. Ling Moxu was stunned and nodded slowly. The development of all civilizations stems from people's needs and desires, and they move from different branches to the same goal. This is called different paths leading to the same destination. It is very similar to you and me seeking the truth. There are thousands of great ways, but they all lead to the same point in the end. Ling Moxu also felt a little immersed in her heart. Some principles of the truth flashed through her mind, vaguely, and she didn't catch them for a while. The next second, her immersion was broken. Star domain secrets, boudoir secrets, celebrity gossip, a story and a crystal stone for Chenghu. Looking up, a wretched old man with pointed ears and a long mouth was sitting in a secret room with a smile, making a gesture of whispering. In the past, we had to listen to it separately, but today there is a discount, and two people can listen together. Which two of you will come? Ling Moxu almost wanted to turn around and leave, letting the two wretched guys listen by themselves. As a result, her slender hands were held, and she couldn't leave. Ling Moxu stamped her feet angrily, stood there with her head tilted and didn't say anything. Moi was very tactful and took out a crystal stone and left. In fact, she was even more angry than Ling Moxu. I paid the money and I still have to leave. Is there anything more aggrieved than this? Why are you jealous? Xia Guixuan was asking the long-mouthed old man. I want to ask about celebrity anecdotes in the past. Should I listen to your nonsense or is there a video documentary mode? The long-mouthed old man smiled even more obscenely. The customer is really knowledgeable. This kind of thing, of course it's more interesting to watch a small movie. Don't worry, it's also VR first-person perspective. You can be immersed in it, just like being with the person you want to see, accompanying her through the past. Xia Guixuan was surprised. From your tone, how do you know I want to ask about a woman? We are all males. The long-mouthed old man dragged out a long tone, and asked in a low voice, which one do you want? Let me tell you, recently many people are most curious about the new princess of Kanglong Star, Ling Moxu. Many people go to see her singing in the past, and they can even perform on the same stage. Ling Moxu, Xia Guixuan's smiling expression suddenly turned cold. Can I touch it? Ling Moxu blinked. No, the long-mouthed old man was puzzled. It is said that it is a video, and it is a public performance video, but Kanglong Star is a bit isolated from everyone, and everyone has never seen it before, so they are very curious. How come the guests are not here to see Ling Moxu? I think your guards look like Ling Moxu. Didn't you find them by looking at them? Ling Moxu took out a mirror and took a look. Silver armor, light shield protecting the face. It seems that it is difficult to recognize herself singing on the stage. I didn't expect that being a celebrity has reached the universe. Xia Guixuan was still very cautious. You can get public images, can you also take secret photos? We didn't take any secret photos at all. It's only recently that Zelter can't lock the Kanglong Star. So someone deliberately got the previous public images. Who could take secret photos before? Then again, there is no such secret photo race. The starworms live in space, which is not suitable for the environment. If they can take secret photos of other races at will, I'm afraid they would have been exterminated long ago. As for hidden races, there are some. Lord Zelter Dark Templar. If I dare to let them take secret photos, they will chop me into pieces with a knife. Xia Guixuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Since there is no way to take secret photos, if you want to see the secrets of the Zelter Queen's boudoir, what can you use to fool people? The old man with a long mouth didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This is a misunderstanding. Where did we get the Queen's secrets? If we really had any, the Zelter bishops would have already skinned them to pieces. What we play here is the Queen's regular documentary, which is produced with the permission of the church. This time, even Ling Moxu felt like you took off your pants and you let me watch this, which was boring. On the contrary, Xia Guixuan sighed, this is what I want. If it's really the secret history of the Empress, I won't watch it. P.S. There will be more updates in the evening. Please guarantee the minimum monthly ticket. Chapter 182 The Queen's Secret. Even when they entered the secret imaging room, Ling Moxu's face was still red. Thinking carefully, the master is not the kind of person who is interested in anyone's private secrets or palace gossip. The reason why he is interested in the Empress's affairs is obviously that he wants to know the whole story of this person. Whether it is secret history or official history, it is just a way to understand and refer to it. Why do I always think about this aspect when I hear about the Empress today? I am getting more and more petty, and I am more and more concerned about him having someone else. Ling Moxu pursed her lips and thought of Yin Xiaoru of Daxia. It seems that I still have foresight. When I didn't know anything at the beginning, I openly tore it once. Now it seems that I tore it so accurately, and did everything I wanted to do today in advance. It was just an instinct at that time. Recalling the mentality at that time, I can't remember it clearly. Xia Guixuan might have been stunned at the time, maybe he had never seen Shura Field in his life. However, Xia Guixuan, who was displeased with her mess at that time, didn't even mind being wronged at this time. He smiled and took her hand and walked into the imaging room, as if she was particularly cute when she was jealous. Everyone is different now. Master, Ling Moxu said this in a mysterious way, if Queen Zelter is really beautiful, I will tie her up with my own hands and give her to you to play with if I break her temple one day in the future. Xia Guixuan was amused and said casually, okay, then wait for the day when our Moxu reaches the peak of Wuxiang. Ling Moxu realized that there was a huge gap between her and Queen Zelter in cultivation, so how could she tie her up with her own hands? But this did not make her feel ashamed. She just said, our war with Zelter is not a short-term one, I still have a long time. Xia Guixuan whispered in her ear, you might as well tie yourself up for me with your own hands. Ling Moxu looked around like a thief, and immediately saw a female bishop in a golden battlesuit, looking at her. Ling Moxu was shocked and subconsciously wanted to break free from Xia Guixuan's arms, but suddenly froze. That female bishop is just a video. This is the video hall, everyone is here to see Queen Zelter. That female bishop is most likely the queen. Ling Moxu's heart shuddered, and all the ambiguous thoughts were washed away. She stared at the bishop with a stern look. The two seemed to be facing each other in the void, staring at each other quietly. Suddenly, another strange picture floated in her mind. In the heart of time, Xia Guixuan and the Fox King once stared at each other. A terrible beast civilization was born in a distant star field. They reproduced, expanded, and polluted frantically, occupied mining stars and plundered energy. But we are fighting because of the disagreement between light and dark energy, and the disaster of genocide is imminent. The bishop knelt in the church and prayed devoutly. The gods who created our race, the great creator who gave us civilization and energy practice, please guide our way. Ling Moxu thought of the Fox King again. Xia Guixuan was thinking the same thing. Is the situation of various civilizations always similar, history always repeating itself, or is there some mysterious connection here? It turns out that Zelt also believes that they are the creations of the creator. In fact, they really look like creations. Turin is made of energy. So it makes sense to say that they are energy bodies. If they were born in this direction, they don't look like an evolved race. Either the cosmic energy is a life that naturally forms due to some triggers, similar to the dark demon, or there is another creator. If there is a creator, their creator is also asleep? So similar. In other words, this image is not the past of the Fox King that was recalled at the beginning, nor is it a historical archive that was filmed, but imagination materialization, which is particularly interesting. It belongs to the story of the queen passed down in Zelt history, and then the scene was formed in people's imagination and materialized. The humans in Daxia also have similar methods, which are mainly used for convenience when reading novels, but the technology is not mature, so people mainly watch live-action dramas. The male and female protagonists are still here. And the civilization technologies in the market star are obviously very mature. The appearance of the queen is clearly visible, and if you stand close, you can even see the details on her face. She is indeed not a flesh and blood life, or rather, flesh and blood bones only form a biological foundation. She does not have the protein and fat of ordinary creatures. She is filled with cosmic energy. So although she looks like a woman, she does not have a beautiful face. Her eyes are made of pure white primordial energy, and inside is a vast energy, manifested by extremely subtle electrical energy. When her eyes pass by, an electric current bursts. Who would have a sexual fetish for such a creature? This tribe should be the darling of spirit and energy. But it also means, they may be difficult to reproduce. It seems that they are exactly the opposite extremes of those beasts. That tribe is extremely easy to reproduce and is the purest flesh and blood life. It is indeed very suitable to be combined together. Thinking about this, the plot in the image has changed several scenes. Internal quarrels, civil wars, external retreats, blood spilled in the starry sky. The spiritual life that needs a long time to accumulate and one less after another dies can't bear the endless torrent of flesh and blood. They are not invincible, the bishop almost shouted at the top of her lungs. They were very weak originally, just like wild animals that instinctively hunt for food. It is you who made them more and more uncontrollable. Your abandonment has caused them to constantly devour our spiritual bodies, learn our energy control, and constantly evolve. A group of bishops were silent. They don't even have a unified leader, just like a plague, the bishop whispered. Have you felt it? Their information bands, yes. They are looking for the whereabouts of a life, that life looks like this. Someone unfolded a band-analyzed image, which showed a humanoid creature wearing clothes from an unknown civilization. The clothes fluttered and looked very beautiful. You could feel the powerful energy, but you couldn't see the face clearly. Or rather, it was a face that could not be analyzed. Just like human sea aliens basically look the same, they also look the same to humans, and they all look the same no matter how they materialize. On the contrary, the clothes are more distinctive and can be visualized. Ling Moxu turned her head and looked at Xia Guixuan in surprise, wanting to say something but holding it back. Xia Guixuan looked extremely ugly because it was his vestments. This image is himself. This is a chess piece that some creature dropped casually, spreading every inch of space in the star field, just to dig out this person. The bishop said, let's not worry about who this person is for now. From our perspective, these beasts don't have a unified thought and spirit at all, and they are not invincible at all. It's too late. Someone said, they have evolved their own flesh and blood magic, and they are no longer creatures that rely purely on strength, but I don't think so. The bishop whispered to herself, they have no thoughts, I will give them thoughts, just like the creator didn't tell us what to do, we will be our own gods. She didn't say this in public, otherwise the accusation of blasphemy would make her unable to survive the meeting room. But Xia Guixuan and Ling Moxu both saw the determination in her eyes and her will to die. 3 more updates. Continue to ask for guaranteed monthly tickets. I'm so sleepy and can't write anymore, so let's stop here first. It is said that Zelter is a combination of the Protoss and Zerg elements of StarCraft, But the story is not based on StarCraft. This is just one corner of the story of the universe, not a StarCraft fanfiction. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 The Shadow Behind the Epic. The bishop did die. She chose to be devoured, and then replaced the confused thoughts of the beasts with her strong spirit and will. This process was not directly shown in the video. It was written in a spring and autumn style, only saying that they had strong wills. But others were not without wills. Why couldn't they become the host after being devoured? There must be something to dig deeper, but Xia Guixuan didn't take it seriously. Anyway, he didn't expect to know all the inside stories from such public videos. That was unrealistic. In any case, this move was respectable and remarkable. Xia Guixuan remembered the little fox as it's not Yin Xiaoru anymore. The queen must have known the result before she set out. She would either fail and die. Even if she succeeded, she would no longer be the same person. Ling Moxu also sighed. It's a great woman. But is she dead or alive? Xia Guixuan shook his head. Let's see the future. The so-called future, of course, is that from now on, the beasts will have a queen and a unified belief. When pure spirit and pure flesh and blood merge together, what kind of monster will be born? I don't know. If the previous appearance was recorded and described so that people could visualize it, the image should be closer to the real appearance. Then from this moment on, the appearance of the queen is a cloud of fog. Invisible, unspeakable, and unknowable. No one can visualize what this deity looks like. She should hate her new appearance, Ling Moxu whispered to Xia Guixuan. From this cloud of fog, she should not have shown her face in front of anyone, or forbade people who have seen her to describe her appearance. As a woman, I can imagine this feeling. In fact, as a cultivator, Xia Guixuan found it difficult to understand why immortals and gods above the Wuxiang care about appearances. Originally, he wanted to say that this is more likely to create a sense of majesty and mystery. But today, it seems that he can't say this anymore. He feels that he does care about appearances. For example, if he really stuffed a female mammoth in front of him, it would be impossible to develop a relationship with Yin Xiaoru and Ling Moxu like now, right? Since he cares about it, it is not surprising that other women care about it. What is certain is that her life form has also been sublimated, and her original strength has also skyrocketed. She has truly become a god, and her rank is not low, so she can achieve such layers of brain control. In the battle against King Longstar, the queen herself has never appeared. It is very likely that the queen cannot easily participate in the battle, and all her strength is used for control. According to Xia Guixuan's system cognition, it should belong to the level of Wuxiang perfection, or it may be at the level of pseudo-taking. What is pseudo? Because it is not cultivated by herself, but a synthesis of two life forms, so there must be certain problems. It is not a regular taking. If it is real taking, control should be much easier, at least it will not affect travel. But there is no taking in the star field. This is the strongest. The queen constructed the civilization system of this group of beasts, established a strict class rule, and used layers of brain control to improve the low-level thinking of instinctive expansion and looking for someone into a kind of powerful civilization with life pursuits. That is their god. In theory. This is the spiritual body conquering the flesh and blood beast, right? But unfortunately, the original tribesmen no longer recognize her. This is normal. Everyone cares about appearances. Who can recognize a monster as one of their own? Moreover, no one can be sure what kind of life she is, whether her thinking is still original. Has she been assimilated by the desires of those beasts? Does she still follow the original beliefs? Even Xia Guixuan thought it was unlikely. She is already a god, and will not have other beliefs. She is already the supreme ruler of a civilization, and will not come back to be a bishop. Ling Moxu also sighed. Just like she would never agree to spore parasitism with her devout beliefs, but now as the queen, she has taken such things for granted, and it is inevitable for her subordinates to reproduce, and the hatred of her former compatriots for the beasts and the competition for resources. The war has not stopped. Who will she side with? Xia Guixuan said, not to mention that she has not reached the heart of taking. Even if she has reached taking, she cannot make a truly fair decision. Man is not heaven. Ling Moxu glanced at him and said nothing. It seems that the path of this queen has also touched the master. The search and understanding of the path are all like this. Xia Guixuan's judgment is naturally correct. The conflict between the queen and the original race is inevitable. After experiencing many assassinations, a female bishop who was determined to die to protect her own tribe finally led the beast tribe to counterattack her homeland. It has to be said that it is a kind of irony. The original people were already at a disadvantage, and now they were defeated without suspense. The queen did not mock her former colleagues, nor did she choose to conquer or destroy. She showed her spirit. All her abilities came from the original energy. No creator has ever saved you and me, she said to the bishops. Is your faith shaken? No one could answer. If we have faith, it is the purest original energy and the most extreme spiritual exploration. As the one who practices the most deeply now, I am the spokesperson. It is unknown whether there will be massacres and suppression afterwards, and it is also unknown whether the most devout faith can be maintained in the face of swords. From the video materials alone, after she persuaded a group of bishops and archons to surrender, the two civilizations merged into one and were named Zelt. She became the common queen of the two tribes, ruling over a vast star field of tens of thousands of light years, and made many third-party civilizations submit to her and become the overlord of the star field. The video ended, and only the misty figure of the queen remained in front of her. There seemed to be eyes in the depths of the mist, looking at you calmly. Ling Moxu squeezed her hands tightly and felt a little sweaty. Maybe this video is a bit of a taboo for the venerable. I don't know if it has her selfish desire to rule. It seems that every step is a helpless choice, and it looks very great and glorious. But even with a lot of beautification, Ling Moxu still thinks that the journey of this queen is epic. It is difficult to distinguish right from wrong in such a story, not to mention the spring and autumn style of writing. Let alone right from wrong, just talking about the story. It is a galaxy higher than her previous so-called layout and planning in the great summer Taoism. It is no wonder that the Zelt Temple acquiesced to the spread of such images. This can attract fans at the lightest, and it can take away faith at the most serious. But Xia Guixuan still frowned and whispered, "This is not quite right." Ling Moxu asked, "Master, what do you think is wrong?" According to this story, she united the two races and dominated the star field. If she acted according to her nature, she should have stopped there. The pursuit of eternal spiritual immortality and the pursuit of the most pinnacle mysteries of the universe would be her next move, Xia Guixuan said, but what she did was to enslave slaves and parasitize and fission at will, like a barbaric civilization. You must know that the reproduction of animals does not necessarily require this method, Ling Moxu said. Is it accelerated because of the lack of troops due to the war with us? It obviously lasted for many years, like a normal thing, and it was definitely not because of our war, Xia Guixuan pondered. That's fine, let's just attribute it to the nature of animal reproduction, and she just let it go and didn't care. But they discovered Kanglong Star 250 years ago, and they were determined to conquer it as soon as possible. This desire for expansion and domination is very abnormal, Master. What you mean is that her nature has long been assimilated by the beasts. Or, Ling Moxu hesitated, their instinct to find that person is still affecting her? At that time, the descendants of the Kanglong star god looked very much like humans. After humans came, it was even more. Xia Guixuan said nothing. Ling Moxu was a little reluctant, so she seems to have become the only god, but in fact there are other gods enslaving her. Xia Guixuan's eyes were dim, and he whispered, this is the most likely possibility. The reason why she was able to blend smoothly in the beginning is probably related to this. It is a will of a higher dimension than hers, and she has never been able to break free. Chapter 184 Nightfall. I thought I was going to read some kind of imperial secrets and love affairs like the one with the wheel on top, but I ended up feeling a little depressed after reading it. Moa was still waiting outside. When she saw the two men coming out, she winked and said, "Sir, how do you feel?" The little eyes were still rolling around Ling Moxu, implying that in that closed little room for watching movies, did you guys have sex right there? Then she was beaten up by Ling Moxu. I've tolerated you for a long time. Moa held her head and screamed, "Sir, help me." Xia Guixuan hugged his shoulders and looked at her coldly. He would never save her, I said. Haven't you seen the images here? Who told you it's a palace secret? It's a regular documentary, okay? Moa stamped her feet. Sir, I forgot, this thing will be in the midnight show, with real people acting. Does anyone watch regular documentaries? Interstellar travel is very tiring, so don't waste everyone's time if it's not pornographic. Ling Moxu beat her even harder. I'm just a ball of fog, and you can cause it. The Zelt Temple is really remiss for not killing you blasphemers. Well, the sexual preferences of life are free. What's wrong with the fog? Have you ever seen someone playing in the mud? Damn it, stop hitting me. Xia Guixuan turned his head away. Don't look at this Maya like a pug. In fact, she has a high level of cultivation, and Ling Moxa's punches and kicks can't kill her. How can the leader of the famous interstellar pirate group be easy to deal with? I punched her several times but she didn't die. Take me to buy technology. Ling Moxa grabbed Maya's collar, the technology of the space gate, and this technology of visualization VR display. What else? Take me to see. Dare to make some pornographic technology. Wait and see. Maya's eyes rolled around, feeling reminded. If I really make some special little things for the gentleman, it will probably be good. It's not to anger Ling Moxu, but to please Xia Guixuan. It now finds out that this gentleman is not as calm and fairy-like as he looks, but he is actually very sultry. The gentleman will definitely praise it, and it's nothing to be beaten up like this, just don't mention the sword. Ling Moxa grabbed Maya and led the way to buy things. Xia Guixuan followed behind to watch them fooling around, smiling, but feeling a little depressed. If the Zelter beast civilization is related to the search for me, and it is a chess piece left by someone that has naturally developed to the present, then this person must be my original enemy. After I was seriously injured, I looked for a place to retreat and heal my wounds, and I had time to set up various large formations. It is not surprising that the other party had time to leave a chess piece before escaping with serious injuries. It can't be my sister. I know my sister's practice too well. It has absolutely nothing to do with this model. They are not the same. That kind of energy and spiritual life do have a little shadow of my sister, but of course they are not too similar, so I can't force it. In general, this matter should have nothing to do with my sister, but it is a clue to the enemy. Whether I can use this to reversely infer the location of the enemy is another matter. The key is that it seems that the tragedy of the other party's original race and the endless war on Kanglong Star seem to have originated from me. Suddenly, I felt like I was eating a melon. I was not watching the play, but I was the one in the play. Fortunately, I had already entered the play. It was originally my own business. In addition, regarding the disagreement between the Zelt temples on light and dark energy, it is uncertain whether it is due to the influence of the dark demon. The beginning of their disputes was about the same time as the dark demons grew in the rifts, and they were mutually attracted. This kind of thing cannot be completely blamed on oneself, because disputes over light and dark energy are common in the birth of the universe, and various types of cultivation civilizations often have them. The struggle between good and evil is one of the similar manifestations, and the opposite of the two has always been the theme of the universe. Therefore, the fall and corruption of Zelt have nothing to do with the beasts, but are the inevitable path of cultivation civilization. The dark demon is just one of the manifestations. If there is no invasion of the beasts, it is very likely that at some point, the dark demon will be worshipped as the god of dark energy, and Zelt itself will be divided. But they do not have the god of light, or rather, the one who has replaced the god of light in their hearts is the queen. It seems that my guidance to Torin was just right. Expelling corruption and letting the queen return to the purity of light was what Torin had wanted to do in his heart for a long time. I don't know what kind of chaos this primer will slowly bring after Torin returns. Judging from the queen's current state, she may not have the control she had before. Maybe something big will happen. But it will take some time to ferment, and it will also become a fuse with a failure on the front line. It depends on how Gongsun Jiayu fights. To be honest, Xia Guixuan still has great trust in Gongsun Jiayu's ability in this regard. But this also means that the matter of killing the dark demon should be put on the agenda. Otherwise, if the other party is really under the cohesion of the god of dark energy, then my arrangement will be called making wedding clothes for others. Maya, Xia Guixuan called out to Maya who was buying things at the counter in front, Taiyang Zhengjin and Chongyang Muzin, they are not here, right? The main reason is that the names are different. It is very difficult to find, unless we spend several more days and walk around the entire market star to look for them slowly, Maya said. In addition, this kind of market star has relatively open transactions, similar to ordinary shopping malls in general civilizations. It is indeed unlikely to find such rare things in shopping malls. I guess you still have to find those professional interstellar merchants and ask them one by one, or simply plunder the treasuries of some countries. Stop. The more you talk, the more outrageous it is, Xia Guixuan said unhappily. You are a pirate and I am not. Don't use this trick to annoy people. Ling Moxu took the opportunity to say, cut it down. Maya's face turned green. I have no credit, but I have worked hard. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, you are not entirely truthful, and your hard work has been half eliminated. Maya was stunned. I am wronged. My loyalty to you is evident from all day and night, and I have never lied to you. Oh, why didn't you tell me about the auction on the little mushroom planet? Moi turned and ran, but was caught by Xia Guixuan. Xia Guixuan held a mushroom man of about 1.5 meters in the air like a child, and his feet were still running as fast as the wheels. The wheels turned for a while and finally stopped. Moi hung there with his head down, looking hopeless. Sir, I can't go to the little mushroom planet. I will be beaten to death. What's your relationship with the Xiong family? Moi hung there like a salted fish without saying a word. Ling Moxu let out a big breath of anger. Take us to the little mushroom planet, and then we can talk about whether it's hard work or not. Okay. Moi handed over 2 crystals with hopelessness. This is the knowledge memory crystal. Everything you want is here. As the night fell on the market planet, there began to be ambiguous neon lights and a bustling atmosphere everywhere, which was very different from the civilization during the day. In a sense, owning a battleship, no matter what type and model, that is the ultimate evolution of a motorhome. Unless you are interested in the entertainment projects on the market star, such as taverns and services, you don't need to consider accommodation and the like. Just go back to your warship, where all the facilities are available. Maya certainly wanted to do some entertainment projects, just like the sailors of the early civilization, who had a lot of fun when they docked, and the same is true for space travel. However, the tragedy is that this gentleman and his female swordsman had no interest in this at all. After shopping for what they needed, they returned to the warship with a stern face. Fortunately, the 2 of them didn't need it anymore, so Maya pulled a group of pirate brothers to go out and play again. Let's go out and play, sir. Have fun too. Ling Moxu blushed and spat, and secretly glanced at Xia Guixuan. Some things need to be guided by the atmosphere. When you know that people around you are having fun doing that kind of thing, then they are alone in the warship, and their hearts will naturally beat faster. But Xia Guixuan didn't seem to have thought about that at all. He just sat in the rest cabin, taking out the 9 mysterious star steel and comparing it with his own Junte sword, as if he was studying the details of refining the weapon, looking very worried. Ling Moxu didn't know whether he was relieved or disappointed, and asked tentatively, Master, do you want to rest? Oh, Xia Guixuan didn't even raise his head, and said casually, you go and rest. You are tired these 2 days. I will study some more things. Ling Moxu wanted to say that I'm not tired, but the words finally turned into, then I'll take a shower. Xia Guixuan still didn't respond to such suggestive words, but just said Ling Moxu went into the bathroom with a little disappointment, took off the silver armor, looked at her upright figure in the mirror, and suddenly wanted to laugh. What on earth is she thinking about? She is also a woman, and what she does is like an epic. What she does is like a fool. It's better to look at the various civilization knowledge she just bought and select how to use it for humans. Ling Moxu filled the bathtub with water, lay down comfortably, took out the memory crystal, and started the knowledge playback. The crystal immediately rang out, the sound of a woman doing that thing, along with a 3-dimensional image of the actress, resounding throughout the rest cabin. Ling Moxu was stunned. P.S. I still didn't add it in the evening. Speaking of which, I took a day off yesterday, but I actually watched the whole day of Ask the World. I even think I have a problem with my brain. But it's so good. Chapter 185. Inside this beautiful rest cabin, there is no sound insulation between the bedroom and the bathroom, and it cannot block the VR images. The sound and the image of the actress were clearly visible inside and outside the bathroom. Xia Guixuan's thoughts were torn away, and he stared in amazement, thinking that he was really good at playing. We ancient people in the Xia dynasty didn't play so much at that time. We also took a quick look at the sex shop in Daxia. Considering the tolerance of Yin Xiaoru and Shang Xiaoi, everyone was quite shy and didn't ask in detail how many tricks the robot shopping guide had. Now I have seen it, it's an eye-opener. I haven't even thought about it. Okay. Ling Moxu was in a hurry to turn off the crystal, but she couldn't find how to turn it off for a while. She just destroyed it directly, but she was afraid that some other technology stored in the crystal would be destroyed, so she didn't dare to destroy it. The actress was performing tirelessly, and she was preparing to loop it. It was a clear message to Xia Guixuan outside. Come on, are you a man? Sure enough, The bathroom door opened with a click. Ling Moxu was angry and anxious, and threw the crystal far away, huddled in the bathtub with her hands on her shoulders, with an expression of grief and indignation. The master must think that I took the initiative to seduce him, but if he really wants it, and I can't refuse, wouldn't it be confirmed that I was flirting with him? I didn't want the first time to be like this. That damn Moya, don't let me see you tomorrow. I won't be named Ling if I don't torture you to death. Just when my mind was full of confusion, I saw Xia Guixuan walked straight to the bathtub. Ling Moxu covered her face. The air was very quiet for a while, only the voice of the actress was still tireless, which made people blush and their hearts beat. The night became more and more charming. Hey, Xia Guixuan squatted by the bathtub and shouted with a smile. Ling Moxu covered her face. What are you doing? Why are you covering your face, Ling Moxu? Xia Guixuan stretched out his hand. Ling Moxu struggled for a long time and didn't know how to turn it off. Soon, the crystal was silent, and the image of the actress disappeared. It's so simple, you really didn't turn it off on purpose. Ling Moxu moved her hand covering her face and glared at him. Yes, I turned on this thing on purpose to seduce you. Xia Guixuan put his hands on his hips. You seduce me, will it work? Ling Moxu was shocked. Didn't you say it's useless? Xia Guixuan stepped into the bathtub and leaned comfortably on the edge. This bathtub is designed with a double backrest. Ling Moxu was angry and amused, so it's natural to take a bath together, right? You are the master and I am the master. Xia Guixuan looked at her strangely. Hey, come and rub my back. Ling Moxu's shame and anger were all washed away. She took the bath ball angrily and rubbed it on him from time to time. You just bully me. But she knew in her heart that Xia Guixuan was deliberately diluting her embarrassment. But she couldn't be moved. The embarrassment was gone, and the bath together was a fact, which was another step forward. Ling Moxu felt that she was becoming more and more strange. She was the little slave girl who had to sleep with him whenever he wanted, but she always felt that it was too fast. He seemed to have a similar feeling. He could have her whenever he wanted, but he didn't plan to eat her up. It seemed that they were both waiting for something, and didn't want both parties to think that it was just a relationship of master and maid, command and service. Although they didn't say it, they knew it in their hearts. Maybe it was hypocrisy. But Ling Moxu thought it was sweet, and hoped that it could continue. Well, it was good to move forward step by step. Just as she was daydreaming, she heard Xia Guixuan say slowly, actually, Moa doesn't know that neither you nor I should have any other mood today. Yeah, Ling Moxu agreed, there's no such atmosphere at all. Is it fun to force an atmosphere? Xia Guixuan opened his half-closed eyes and glanced at her. Ling Moxu turned her head and muttered, some slave owners don't talk about this anyway. Xia Guixuan laughed. Then let's change. Ling Moxu was stunned. How do we change? That was simply what he had dreamed of, something that would make him laugh in his dreams, making him kneel in front of her and call her the mistress. Ho. Xia Guixuan instigated, do you want to try it? Ling Moxu was looking forward to it, and coughed dryly on his face. Let's try it. Okay, Xia Guixuan said seriously, then let me help you scrub your body. Ling Moxu, that's not like that. Before she could react and refuse, Xia Guixuan had already turned her over and put her underneath him. He took out a bath ball and started rubbing it on her body. How's the strength? Ling Moxu was embarrassed and angry. Are you serving me or playing with me? The little slave girl, who was in shame and anger, didn't know where she got the strength from, and she flicked back. The two of them started to wrestle in the bathtub. The little slave girl stood up again. But she was obviously not as strong as Xia Guixuan, so she was pushed back. In the end, the man was on top and the woman was on the bottom. The two looked at each other breathlessly for a long time. Ling Moxu's eyes wavered and she slowly closed her eyes. Xia Guixuan kissed her. There was no atmosphere, but it was created. What kind of environment is this? This is a bathtub. Ling Moxu closed her eyes and felt his kiss. She felt that it was okay, although the atmosphere seemed to be wrong at the beginning. Studying civilization while observing the Queen's past, this story should not have been going this way. It was totally unexpected. But after flirting and kissing, I was able to give myself to him completely, which seemed not bad. The night was gradually becoming more and more seductive. Just as she was preparing to welcome the favor of her master, the alarm suddenly sounded on the battleship. The honorable Captain Maya was beaten. The brothers who stayed on the ship quickly picked up their weapons and went to the Big Bird Bar in Area A11 for support. Xia Guixuan, Ling Moxu, all the atmosphere was gone. Success is due to Maya. And failure is also due to Maya? Seeing Xia Guixuan's disgusted expression, Ling Moxu chuckled and pushed him away. You deserve it. I told you to have a subordinate like that. Nothing good will happen. Xia Guixuan also laughed. A tyrant always has to have a jester beside him, Ling Moxu asked curiously. He was beaten up. Why didn't you go to help him? Xia Guixuan turned over and continued to lean on the edge of the bathtub. He hugged Ling Moxu in his arms and said slowly, Maya's real practice is in the late Qiannian period. He is very powerful. If you can really make him suffer even if he calls for help from his brothers, you should not show up in a shabby bar on Jimeo Star. I think that if you want to intervene, you should control these pirates and not hurt them. Ling Moxu huddled in his arms and laughed. If he knew that his respected gentleman not only had no intention of helping him, but also thought it would be better for him to be beaten up, he would rebel against you on the spot. How can he respect me? That's called speculation, Xia Guixuan said with a smile. There will be many such people in the future. How about you help me manage them? Ling Moxu blinked her eyes. She was very interested. As the only female slave of the master, she should help the master to manage these coquettish and slutty girls. This is her due responsibility, huh? While chatting, Xia Guixuan's mind had already landed on Maya, wanting to see if he should pull Maya back and not hurt others. As a result, he was a little stunned after taking a look. Maya and its core pirate brothers are all mushroom people. Chapter 186 Digital God. Two groups of mushroom people were fighting in the bar. It was obvious that they were old enemies with a long-standing grudge. They were not the kind of people who had just quarreled in the bar and ended up fighting. You could also hear the other side cursing, a group of traitors who ruined the reputation of our little mushroom planet. Maya cursed back, look, you guys are so happy to be dogs. You beat our own people more cruelly than anyone else. I have never killed any of your people. The other side also cursed, you made us change our appearance when we go out. The cute mushrooms are hated by gods and ghosts when they go out. What's the difference between this and killing us? Both sides hated each other, and the fight was so lively. A bar was beaten to a mess, the building collapsed, the furniture was scattered, and all kinds of strange strips turned around and fell on the street, making it a mess everywhere. Xia Guixuan couldn't stand it anymore. Just as he was about to take action, an emotionless electric current sound came from the air, violation of the public security ban on the Market Star. Each of you will be punished with confinement for 1 month. The chain composed of data bands locked the two fighting parties. Maya struggled desperately, but couldn't get free. Huh? Xia Guixuan found it very interesting. Data has become a kind of life? A guardian spirit of this planet? Who made it? Or did the data become a god itself? This is interesting. Xia Guixuan's mind surged, and he directly invaded the core control console of the Jimeo Star. There was a huge spherical metal object suspended there, rotating quietly, and strange bands were all around the sphere, flashing around like digital program codes. Xia Guixuan's mind connected. The sphere burst into a strong repulsion. Xia Guixuan made a rough judgment. If he forcibly invaded, the operation of the entire Jimeo Star would be paralyzed, including those intercontinental portals, and even the VR system and electricity for watching small movies would all collapse. Is this really a ball that controls the system operations of the entire planet? If this thing is given to Brother Xiang, it might really be able to achieve system text. Xia Guixuan did not try to invade, but tried to communicate. Then he found that it was indeed possible to communicate. I have discovered the thoughts of a powerful god. Hello, respected god. This is the control hub of the Jimeo Star. How can I help you? Is this really a set program? Or is it self-awareness? Both. Who made it? It is not difficult to make a system hub like mine. The consciousness was awakened by the respected Queen's Elder. If you understand the data, you can also create the same guardian spirit. Xia Guixuan really found it interesting and said with a smile, I will study this when I have time. Well, the person you just captured is my servant. Can you give me some face and let him go? Face. A request made by the gods based on the maintenance of their majesty. Analysis. You are stronger than me. Answer. Yes, Xia Guixuan. Straightforward. This setting is good. The other party is not your servant. Should we continue to detain him? Let's release him too. Xia Guixuan asked with some curiosity. If the other party also has a powerful god who wants you to give face, what will you do? You two fight first. Whoever wins will be punished. I am just an honest data system. I hope you won't vent your anger on me. Okay. This queen is more humane than I thought. The person has been released. Please accept it, sir. The two groups of mushroom people over there found that the data surrounding them had been revoked and they could move again. Just as they were in doubt, they saw Xia Guixuan descending. Maya was ecstatic and rolled and crawled to hug his thigh. I knew it was you who came to save us. The mushroom man on the opposite side shrank back vigilantly. Xia Guixuan kicked Maya, who was hugging his thigh, over and said lightly, "Go back to the battleship, don't embarrass me outside. And you," he paused, with a strange look on his face, "I will go to the Little Mushroom Galaxy to participate in the auction soon. If you have any grudges, I will talk to your leader at that time." After speaking, he disappeared. Maya puffed out his chest and said to the other party fiercely, "Just wait, our powerful and noble master will go to the small mushroom galaxy to conquer you." Bah! The other party was angry and did not dare to fight anymore. They went to their own warships and left quickly to report the news. Maya arrived at the warship. Xia Guixuan and Ling Moxu were already dressed and making tea. Seeing Maya coming back, Xia Guixuan said lightly, "Sit down." Maya did not dare to breathe, carefully drove away the other mushroom brothers, took small steps and ran to Xia Guixuan, nodded and bowed. "Thank you for your help, sir." Xia Guixuan smiled. "Just based on the memory crystal you gave Moxu, I would do the same," Maya said happily. "Just have fun, sir, just have fun." A scabbard came from the front and hit its face. "Go to hell." With a bang, Maya lay on the ground and twitched, looking resigned. Ling Moxu's anger was all gone, and he also knew that this person was deliberately beaten to make himself calm down. "It's too sensible. I don't know how to kill it even if I want to." Xia Guixuan gave her a cup of tea. Ling Moxu silently held the cup and sat beside him drinking tea without saying a word. Xia Guixuan's action of distributing tea always changes the atmosphere from chaotic to quiet and elegant. Looking at the smoke and tea fragrance in front of him, Ling Moxu suddenly wondered if this is a unique artistic conception of Chinese civilization. At least it can't be felt on this planet surrounded by electronics and data. Even Maya seemed to be infected and sat quietly opposite the coffee table without saying a word. Xia Guixuan also distributed a cup of tea to it and said slowly, "You are also from the Little Mushroom Galaxy, right?" Maya said "Actually, we are of the same race as the group of people just now. No wonder you are used to pretending to be each other." Xia Guixuan smiled and said, "You said before, don't let you know who is pretending, but in fact you have always known." Maya hung her head and did not answer. Xia Guixuan asked, "The so-called Little Mushroom Galaxy, is it named because you all look like mushrooms?" "Quite the contrary," Maya finally said, "because that galaxy is basically not a round planet, but a mushroom-shaped celestial body, and everyone lives on the mushroom crown, which is the ancient cognition of the round sky and square earth. Later, it was discovered that the entire galaxy is like a forest of mushrooms, forming a special star field. Doesn't this star field belong to the Zelda star field? No, it's farther away. And it is controlled by the Dragon King. There was no such thing as surnames in the early years. Later, the little princess took a plane and gave herself the surname Xiang. She is a dragon. Why are you mushroom people? Because we all grew out of it. The Xiang family of the dragon clan is actually an outsider, but after tens of thousands of years, everyone is used to it, and they can be regarded as a native clan. In fact, there were no dragons in the Little Mushroom Galaxy. This thing is like the Kanglong star civilization. Ling Moxu was also stunned when he heard this. "Yes, are there really dragons in alien domains?" "You guessed wrong," Xia Guixuan smiled. "Every civilization may have dragons and phoenixes, but they may not be called the same, and their characteristics may not be the same. The dragons in the Kanglong star civilization concept are not exactly the same as the dragons in the outside world. Their bloodlines and abilities are different. We will talk about this later. I just want to ask you, what is the reason for you to rebel against the Little Mushroom Star?" Moexi said, "Will you really find a place for me?" Xia Guixuan had a blank expression. "On the contrary, I was thinking whether I could find an excuse for myself not to help the other party kill you." Chapter 187 Maya. Maya didn't know that the little dragon king behind him was the anonymous disciple of the gentleman in front of him. It just thought that Xia Guixuan meant that he had done so many evil things and wanted to kill his relatives for the sake of justice. Seeing Ling Moxu holding the hilt of the sword and looking up and down with ill intentions, as if looking for a suitable place to cut, Maya cried and complained, "If you want to investigate my work as a pirate, I will not argue with many crimes. We have no say in how you punish us. But if it's just about the right and wrong with the Little Mushroom Star, then we are really not wrong." Xia Guixuan did not comment, Tell me about it. We were originally born and raised by nature. Other civilizations generally call us monsters, elves, and monsters, Maya said. A long time ago, someone captured us to make medicine. The entire galaxy is a breeding farm in a sense. Everyone is miserable. Ling Moxu's expression moved slightly, and he looked at Xia Guixuan, who looked very calm. Traveling around the heavens, I have seen many similar things. Not only these plant spirits, but also animal demons are often raised in this way. Sometimes, even humans are raised in this way. So the dragons are raising you to harvest you? That's not the case. We don't know where this dragon tribe came from. They were very sympathetic when they saw us. They helped us fight off the harvesters, taught us to practice, and took us to do interstellar business. We are very grateful. For a long time, they volunteered to be servants, just like those people just now. They are all servants of the dragons and are still loyal to us. The servants of the Dragon King are not shrimp soldiers and crab generals, but a group of mushrooms. This really makes Ling Moxu feel uncomfortable. She finally understands what Xia Guixuan said. Everyone's dragon is different, but this is right. I thought it was the kind of model where the two tribes couldn't coexist like on Kanglong Star. It seems that it is really hard to say right or wrong. But after hearing this, it seems that there is still right and wrong. Ling Moxu couldn't help asking, you even learned civilization and made a living through others. This rebellion doesn't seem to be justified, right? Why is it not justified? Maya's expression was no longer as slick as usual, and he said seriously, we are willing to be servants out of gratitude. That's fine, but should this continue from generation to generation? The mushroom people on Mushroom Star can never be independent. They are either used as medicine or as slaves. Are there only these two choices? I am willing to serve you now, but that doesn't mean I am willing to let my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren continue to serve me. Ling Moxu was slightly stunned and did not refute this point. Xia Guixuan narrowed his eyes and looked at it for a while, then smiled and said, it seems that you don't reproduce normally, but grow naturally? Where does the great-grandson come from? It's the same. I never thought that the new mushrooms born should listen to the Dragon King. Why is this taken for granted? Ling Moxu still looked at Xia Guixuan. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, it depends on the individual. For example, I don't think that the descendants of the Kanglong Star God should listen to me when they are born, but if someone thinks so, that's normal. In the final analysis, you have to break free from this nature, have your own things, and strength. Ling Moxu also smiled. In fact, in her opinion, this is exactly where Xia Guixuan is most different from others. It seems that the stinky slave owner is very bad, and it is as natural to take in female slaves as eating, but in fact he never thinks that the descendants of the gods should listen to him, and even encourages them to go out. This kind of temperament is not something that ordinary people can have. If it were anyone else, it would be a matter of course to rule and drive, and there is no need to consider it. This is Xia Guixuan's bearing and charm. Maybe he himself didn't realize why Shang's Haoi changed from wanting to tear the sky to being hesitant. Was it really because of the suppression of strength? Maybe it was more because he felt that this guy was pretty good. It was obviously doing favors but not responsibilities for everyone. He had never worshipped him for a day. Why did he want to tear him apart for no reason? It was hard for him to get around this hurdle in his heart. Of course, if others think that ruling is natural, then there is really nothing to argue about. It's normal. Maya said, so I tried to go out. I built my own warships and started trading myself. But sir, do you think the Dragon Clan is willing? Xia Guixuan smiled and said, no. Maya spread his hands, see, the conflict is here. How to judge right and wrong? Xia Guixuan and Ling Moxu didn't say anything. Maya sighed, everyone has their own ideas about this kind of thing, and it's not easy to argue. We can't even reach a conclusion among our own tribe, let alone others. If you really want to talk about rebellion, I don't count. I really don't have any ill will towards the Dragon Clan and my compatriots. I just said that I have never hurt their people, and they didn't refute it, right? At most, I just used their name to deceive people, Ling Moxu said. Then how did you become a pirate? We trade among ourselves, but the Dragon Clan doesn't want to, and there are all kinds of concerns outside. How long can we rely on deception? If we don't transform, they will all jump into the galaxy. What can we do? Maya said calmly, being a pirate is indeed comfortable, as long as you can put aside the shackles in your heart. Xia Guixuan sneered, from the ambitious freedom and independence, to plundering pirate. Do you still remember your original ambition? Or is the so-called ambition just a cover, and you are actually committing crimes in the name of freedom? Maya was silent for a moment, and whispered, I don't know. But sir, I didn't have such great ambitions at the beginning. There is another problem involved here, Xia Guixuan asked curiously. What else? Maya sighed. Do you think the artificially planted mushrooms are also my people? Xia Guixuan was a little stunned. Artificially planted? Yes, we used to grow naturally, so of course there won't be many of us. The number of dragons is also very small, even fewer than ours. Our power has always been small and small, like a family power. To this day, people still say that the little mushroom star Xiang family is a family, not a civilized regime. Maya said, the dragon clan wanted to expand their power, so they began to artificially cultivate mushroom people. This was actually the fuse that instigated me to pull a group of brothers away. I feel uncomfortable. Ling Moxu wanted to scratch her head after hearing this. It's really hard to say whether this is right or wrong. It's a bit like a cyborg. Not really, or it can be said to be an artificial person. Anyway, various stories can always find reference shadows, but it seems to be true. Maya said, her voice even had some fear in it. In the future, any artificially planted life will be the same as us. What kind of life will we be then? Just like those people who just fought with me, are they really my same kind, or another artificial race? I can no longer tell. So I ran away from that place. I don't want to go back to see them. I don't want to tell whether they are the same as me. It held the teacup and took a sip with trembling. I don't have any ambitions or aspirations. I'm just a confused escapist, doing anesthetized acts of drunkenness and dreams. Our pirate group is all like this. At about this time, the mushroom people who had just fought with Maya returned to the little mushroom star and arrived at a small mushroom-shaped castle. Is the little princess here? The princess is inside, looking at the list of this auction. Hey, did you fight with someone and are covered in injuries? Yes, Maya, the guard sighed. Maya, don't you know how tolerant the princess is to them? They have never fought or killed each other. What else do they want? This time they disguised themselves to attack Zelter, which led to their being wiped out by Zelter. In the end, how did they think they escape? It was because we secretly set up a trap for other pirate groups. They are just stinky pirates who have done many evil things. Do you expect them to be grateful? I think the princess is too naive. Let's not talk about it. Go in. The princess is waiting for you to report the purchase order. The mushroom man entered the house and was greeted by a huge recliner, decorated in pink, chubby, and fragrant. A little girl shrank in the chair. She was so small that she could hardly be found. A chubby finger stretched out and drew on the crystal ball in the air. Every time it drew, a new set of clothes appeared in the crystal ball, and she also imagined herself wearing it. This set is too old-fashioned. It doesn't make me look cute. Isn't this set a bit revealing? This set is too childish. I wore it when I was 3 years old. Wow. Which one does the master like? Princess, the veins on the mushroom man's head jumped. Didn't you say you were looking at the auction list? Before I left, you were looking at clothes. I went to the market star to buy things and fought with people. I came back from tens of thousands of light years away, and you are still looking at clothes. Ah, you are back. Have you bought what I want to buy? The little girl seemed to have just seen someone come in. She raised her head from the recliner with difficulty, and her 2 little dragon horns were exposed. I bought it. It's the private information collection of the star insect race. The mushroom man handed over a piece of crystal respectfully. Xiang Guixuan pointed at the crystal, and a line of text appeared inside. Turin, the former Archbishop of Light in Zelter, has convened the Council of Light again, and it seems that the conflict between light and darkness in Zelter has reappeared. Seeing Xiang Guixuan puffing her cheeks and pondering, the mushroom man couldn't help but say, Princess, have you been involved in the Zelter war too much recently? It's inconsistent with the purpose of our interstellar merchants. Even if you want to make money from the war, it seems too risky. Do you know why my last name is Xiang? I don't know. Wasn't the little girl kidding? What the heart desires, what he pays attention to, is what I pay attention to, the little girl said lightly, and soon began to worry. He pays attention to the big ball, but I don't. Wow. The mushroom man fell into cold sweat and couldn't help but say, Princess, our dragon clan and the blue dragon of Kanglong Star really have nothing to do with each other. They are not the same clan. Are you and Maya the same clan? I think so. Then me and him, too. Chapter 188 Seeking the Truth. Xia Guixuan said nothing more to Mei Ado and let him lead the voyage. It's time to go to the auction. After all, Not every journey has wormholes and teleportation, and most of them still rely on navigation. It should be just in time to leave for the little mushroom star now. Compared with the previous sea voyages, space navigation is more desolate, more difficult to orient, and more difficult to have a sense of time. Because there is no rising and setting of the sun and the moon, no morning rain and evening wind, and the scenery is always the same, from such a galaxy to such a celestial body. Without sufficient experience, it is difficult to even qualify as the helmsman of an ordinary interstellar cruise ship. So when Gongsun Jiu was appointed as the captain of a frigate as soon as he graduated, it shocked the whole Daksha. At that time, Xia Guixuan sent a message saying that there would be an auction on the little mushroom star in a month. It seems that it has not been long since he came out. He has only been to the Red Moon Mine Star and the Market Star, but in fact, half a month has passed. Because one day on the Market Star may not be one day on the Kanglong Star. The rotation time of the planet is completely different. It seems that he has stayed on the Market Star for one day, but it may be 3 days according to the time of the Kanglong Star. In fact, even the timekeeping of 1 month is Xia Guixuan's way of adapting to Xia Guixuan's habits. There is no such timekeeping method in space, because the 1 day and 1 month of each planet are completely different, and many planets don't even have sun and moon at all. However, when the timekeeping units of different planets are refined to small units, they begin to get closer and closer to minutes and seconds. The smaller, the closer. Just like if different energies must be refined to the most essential particles, they can actually be called original energy. Whether it is magic, fairy art, or energy reactions created by technology, they can essentially be analyzed and restored to the same energy. The so-called different paths lead to the same destination. Pure energy crystals are the currency currently circulated in the star field. They can probably be used in other star fields. The spiritual energy that Xia Guixuan needs for cultivation is the majestic energy in the universe. It's just that it's not so convenient to absorb and extract, and it's extremely complicated. Xia Guixuan's ability can purify, extract and absorb, but Ling Moxa can't. But it can be done in the battleship. The warship has purification and extraction equipment. The air in the warship is the most suitable spiritual energy for Ling Moxa to practice. The so-called spiritual mountain treasure land with rich spiritual energy is actually just such a concept. During the voyage, the master and servant did not flirt with each other anymore, and the charming atmosphere was completely destroyed. Xia Guixuan continued to study his refining, and Ling Moxa sat cross-legged in meditation and practiced. What he saw and heard after coming out touched Ling Moxa a lot. Whether it was what he saw and heard on the Red Moon Mine Star, or the change in his relationship with Xia Guixuan after that cry, or the scientific and technological civilization cognition of the Market Star, or the idea of only considering his own practice to bringing knowledge to human society, or the Queen's epic, or even Maya's confusion. After more than 20 years of precipitation on the Blue Dragon Star, the touch in his heart seemed to be no more than these few days. Even the most rapid stage of his own practice and state of mind on the Blue Dragon Star began after he met Xia Guixuan. He really had to get out of it. He was right. Mind, pattern, vision, human feelings. Observation of multiple civilizations is like watching the ebb and flow of the tide at the seaside. The sublimation after precipitation condenses into a long rainbow across the sky. It is understandable why he used to look like a calm observer. This is the perception and nourishment of the great Dao. So the sword was drawn and put away, just like the ebb and flow of the tide, returning to silence, leaving behind a brilliant light, reflecting the heart. In the transparent sword light, there seems to be his smiling face. Ling Moxa knew that Xia Guixuan deliberately brought her here for this trip. He knew that it would be useful to her. He wanted to see what this seedling would look like. He not only watched, but also nurtured it. Cultivate? PFFT. The sword heart rippled slightly, and Ling Moxa slowly opened his eyes. From the beginning of entering Kyanidin to the second level of Kyanidin, it was so simple, almost silent. Ling Moxa felt that it was more than that. Maybe in a few days, before reaching the small mushroom star, it would be the third level, and he could enter the middle stage of peeping. Because he had already reached that state of mind, and had all the knowledge and comprehension, and only lacked the accumulation of energy, that kind of practice would be easy, and maybe just taking drugs would be enough. For example, taking his, Ling Moxa blushed and turned her head to look at the other corner of the room, where Xia Guixuan was refining a weapon. His big cauldron was shrunk into a 3-foot square and placed horizontally in front of him. A sword-shaped object was suspended above it, and it seemed that a raging fire was gushing out from the mouth of the cauldron. The blue surrounded the sword body, and the sword body was also slightly blue, looking as beautiful as ice crystals. Xia Guixuan carefully controlled the flames. His expression was very focused, as if he was carving the most exquisite work of art. Of course, since he would directly start refining in such a room without even making an isolation, it was obviously not a very important stage, so he would not be unable to be distracted. His focused attitude was nothing more than because this sword meant something different to him, and Ling Moxu already knew it. "Master, haven't you collected all the materials yet?" Ling Moxu walked over. "Is there anything I can help you with?" "First, practice the sword blank. With a 9 profound star steel, it can be used as a solid. The original fragments can be combined into a new sword for daily use. As for the other 2 pieces, I just added the restraining properties specifically to deal with the dark demon. They also create water and fire, which slightly upgrades the sword and does not affect the function of the sword itself." Ling Moxu said, "Master is not a sword cultivator. How do you use this sword?" "You fly swords, and I also fly swords, but the methods of use are different. Besides, although I am not a sword cultivator, I am proficient in both. Otherwise, how can I teach you?" Xia Guixuan smiled. "I know a lot of things, a lot of useful and useless things. After all, I have lived too long. It would be strange if I didn't learn something new." Ling Moxu asked hesitantly. "It feels like the master is only 4 or 5,000 years old, not that long." Xia Guixuan finally looked up at her. "Why do you feel 4 or 5,000 years old?" "I think the master is related to the Xia dynasty or the more ancient legends of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, strongly related." Ling Moxu pointed to a Zuinigan sword. "For example, this, and the master's special reaction when he patted Si Takang." Xia Guixuan did not answer directly, but said, "When you reach a certain level, you will find that time is not a single line. You now have the opportunity to go back to the time of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors to watch their competition, travel through time. At least you can watch it." Xia Guixuan said again, "For example, if you go to other planes to hang out, the flow of time in that plane is different from this universe. You experience tens of thousands of years there, but only a moment when you come out. How do you calculate your age? For example, if you choose a historical travel, it proves that you can choose the time node of the plane. Then when you return to this plane, can you choose to go back to the moment you just traveled through, so that no matter how long you have been there, it will seem like a moment. Time is something that can be played with." Ling Moxu was a little horrified. Isn't it hard to understand?" Xia Guixuan said, "In fact, I used to think that when the 2 most difficult and greatest ways of time and space are integrated, they can prove the supremacy, so I studied it more. Later I found that there is still a hurdle that I can't get over. The peak of taking is still like this. You don't have to think too much about it if you are not on this way." Ling Moxu said carefully, "The master's hurdle, maybe it's the unknown self." Xia Guixuan shook his head and said, "It should be what Kingxin understands, what Kainun is in, and what Wuxiang breaks. I am still looking for it today, and it is also my fault. But it is also possible. It's not just the self, what else? The cognition of creation." Xia Guixuan whispered, "Even the civilization of this star field can artificially create gods. The dragon clan of the little mushroom star can also artificially create mushroom people. They are actually ahead of me in this regard. Didn't the master create the descendants of gods?" "Not quite the same." Xia Guixuan looked up and thought about it, and suddenly smiled and said, "I want to learn something from you. Can you teach me?" Ling Moxu was happy, but also very curious. "What can I teach the master?" "It is said that most schools in Daxia teach programming." Xia Guixuan said, "Teach me computer language." Ling Moxu's joy froze on her face, and she stood there in a daze. In Daxia, even junior high school students learn computer languages. But the poor student Ling Moxu was returned to the teacher. Chapter 189 Little Mushroom Star. Why didn't you study hard back then? I only knew that practicing cultivation could help me become the master of my life, but I didn't expect that learning programming could also help me. Such a good opportunity to become the master of my life slipped through her fingers just because she didn't study hard. Ling Moxu wanted to bang her head against a board. Fortunately, she at least knew a little bit of basic knowledge, so she could at least explain the simplest theories to Xia Guixuan. If she couldn't be a teacher, she could be a senior. The 2 of them sat side by side in front of the window, and the senior tutored the newbie in basic lessons, which was also very beautiful. The newbie would occasionally take advantage of the senior, and the senior would blush and swat his hand away. Sometimes, she couldn't swat it away, so she could only pout and let him caress her, saying angrily, "Do you still want to listen?" The newbie withdrew his hand as if he had been electrocuted. Ling Moxu was very happy and thought it was fun. It's just that the senior sister has no authority. When everyone is resting and not studying, she has to be held and played by the little freshman. She blushes and buries her head in his arms, whispering, "No, do you want energy? Yes, try the pose in the crystal image before, hate it, the days of space travel are so boring and plain." Until Maya came to report, "Sir, we have arrived at the Little Mushroom Galaxy." Xia Guixuan and Ling Moxu stood on the side of the ship and could already see a field of mushrooms in the distance. The Little Mushroom Galaxy is a planetary system, not a planet. All the celestial bodies in this galaxy are mushroom-shaped, which is somewhat contrary to the common sense of the universe, but in fact there are many things that violate common sense in the universe, because many things are not natural, and are often related to the great power of some people. If according to what Maya said before, then this area is likely to be the artificial Ganoderma lucidum garden of a great man, but later it was abandoned or because the mushrooms gradually developed a sense of life, which made the great man unable to do it, so he left. There are many cases where the great man did something casually and did not ask about it later, including Xia Guixuan himself. It is not very meaningful to get to the bottom of this, and it is also quite difficult. As a result, they were harvested by others until a group of merchants from the Dragon Clan came here and settled down until now. The characteristic of the merchant family is that they did not build this galaxy into a civilization system with many systems. Even if this galaxy is occupied by others, their foundation cannot be destroyed. The foundation is always suspended outside and hidden in various mobile warships. The galaxy on the ground is just a concept similar to station, management office, transit station and labor service center. Then no one can destroy them. Xia Guixuan felt that Maya had no sense of security and chose to travel alone for this reason. Xia Guixuan and the others can retreat and transfer directly when encountering problems, but the mushroom people can't, because this is their home. Fortunately, no one really came to destroy this galaxy, and the pirates did not have the strength to do so. To this day, everyone lives a peaceful life. The business of the Xiang family of the Dragon Clan is getting bigger and bigger. The small mushroom galaxy has become a gathering center for interstellar merchants. From time to time, they hold auctions and treasure appraisals, and they often choose to do so here. It is better than meeting at an unknown space coordinate and docking their warships like a thief. When they arrived at the designated stop star, Maya was surrounded by a group of mushrooms nervously as soon as she got off the boat. "Maya, you really dare to come?" Maya had a blank expression. "Do you think I like to care about you? If it weren't for the sir insisting on coming, I would never set foot in this stinky place, sir." The mushroom people looked up at the man and woman who came out behind Maya. Then they were a little surprised, because Xia Guixuan and Ling Moxu's appearance and armor were the same as those of the Dragon Clan after they transformed, that is, they lacked dragon horns. Maya puffed out her chest and said, "Now I am the master's servant, not the Toadstool pirates. The master is an invited guest of the auction, do you understand? Do you understand? You, stand aside. Who are you pointing a broken gun at?" The guards all had stern faces. "The master who can hire a stinky pirate like you is probably not a good person. If you are an invited guest, please show your invitation." Xia Guixuan laughed and didn't take them seriously. In addition to the opposition with the traders, the opposition between interstellar merchants and interstellar pirates is also a very serious link. Maya ran away to become a pirate, which means she has become the most hated profession by interstellar merchants, not to mention that she often pretends to be a person to tarnish her reputation. It is a light punishment for Xia Guixuan to chop her up, and pretending to be her once is completely a revenge. As a result, this time the big head pirates were almost wiped out, and Xia Guixuan was probably quite surprised. In the current situation of public sentiment, if it weren't for her protection, it would not be surprising that Maya would be chopped into mushroom sauce by the mushroom people. In fact, Maya knew that it was Xia Guixuan who pretended to attack the Zelter army, and she was angry in her heart. But somehow, although the conflict was serious, Xia Guixuan was a little out of place, and felt that it was just a game. Maybe it was because that Dragon Lolly was not serious, and Maya was also like a funny guy. Ling Moxu was explaining to the guards, "There is no invitation. You can go and inform Xia Guixuan." When she invited us, she probably didn't expect that we came on a pirate ship. She thought she would go directly to her. You just need to let her know." The guards became more nervous. "Who are you fooling?" Maya was secretly happy in her heart. With this situation, the master might really come to make trouble. How could the little princess invite her directly in private? What an insecure little girl. It would be best if the two sides clashed, and it would be best if these dragons could be taken away. This master doesn't seem to want to drive people for a long time. Maybe Maya, will be the ruler of the little mushroom star in the future. The guard said sternly, "How can our princess invite a man to meet directly? We dare not ask, so stop talking nonsense. No invitation will be allowed." Maya felt that it was time to show her loyalty. She put her hands on her hips and said, "If you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, be careful when your princess kneels down to serve my master. Don't cry." Before she finished speaking, a dragon roar came from afar. A beautiful little white dragon with a snow-white and crystal body came from afar and soon approached the field. She was furious and said, "Maya, shut up." Maya put her hands on her hips and said, "Don't think I'm afraid of you just because I call you a little princess. I have a backer now, don't you understand? I have tolerated you for a long time. You are short and flat, not even as good as a mushroom man. You still think you are very beautiful every day. You look at yourself in the mirror and ask the mirror who is the most beautiful person in the universe. I'm sick. Ask these mushrooms who usually hold you in your arms and tell you the truth. Is there anyone who really thinks you are beautiful? Can you have some sense?" All the mushrooms showed expressions of dismay, as if they could feel the dragon's shame and anger, and even the celestial bodies trembled. Roar! The dragon swung its tail and came over. Maya was not afraid at all. The master was right beside him. "Isn't it a provocation for you to sweep over with such a big tail? Can the master tolerate it? Wait until you are pressed into a small notch." Ho ha ho ha. Bang! Maya turned 360 degrees in the air and flew into the sky like a gyroscope. Why didn't the master react at all? Is there something wrong? From the reverse perspective, the little white dragon turned into a mini dragon more than 1 foot long, and threw itself into Xia Guixuan's arms. "Master, hug me." Maya decisively shut herself up. P.S. This month's book club activities are jointly organized with Xiaosong, and the combined rewards are generous. The specific activities can be seen in the book review area. PS2, there will be more updates in the evening. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 The Black-Bellied Lolly's Car Failure. Ling Moxu looked at the little white dragon curiously. "I heard it was a blue dragon before. It seems to have changed. The main body is white, and it is a little bit crystal clear with a little pink. It is very cute. Ling Moxu thinks it is very beautiful." Maya is obviously slandering. The dragon form is so beautiful, and the human form must be even more beautiful. But Maya's slander is good. Where did this stinky snake come from? And get close to the master as soon as it comes. Do you have any shame? In Ling Moxu's complicated mood, Xia Guixuan picked up the little dragon and turned it in the air for a few circles. The little dragon was thrown into a mosquito coil, blinking its big eyes at the master. Xia Guixuan had no way to deal with her. The so-called master and apprentice. He didn't teach anything at all. It was just a coincidence that he taught a little bit of the Dragon Clan demon cultivation method of the Eastern Emperor realm. It was just the basics, so he was not considered an apprentice and was not recorded in the name. I don't know why this kid is so dependent on her. Her own strength is not bad. Is it that serious? She doesn't necessarily think highly of the demon cultivation method of the Eastern Emperor realm. It didn't matter how much he depended on her in the past. He even had to avoid his sister, not to mention her. What's her business when he travels the galaxy? The sky is high and the earth is far away, and we may not meet in our lifetime. Unexpectedly, far away from the Milky Way and the Eastern Emperor realm, in such a distant star field, it is still half home to this little lolly. Seeing her taking great pains to help him collect fragments and help his descendants beat humans, although she acted like a fool, she couldn't keep a straight face. Being called master, she couldn't refute. He could only sigh. You are the host and auctioneer, which does not mean you are the manager and owner, right? Xia Guixuan did not understand for a while, and nodded her head and said, "Master is right." Xia Guixuan put her down. "Then don't show how familiar you are with me in public, so as to avoid others questioning the neutrality of your interstellar business alliance, and the auction will be manipulated behind the scenes, which will be disadvantageous to you." Xiaolong blinked and suddenly said, "I don't care." Ling Moxa seemed to hear the voice of Xia Guixuan's softening heart, thinking that Xiaolong is really a strong opponent. How many men can stand up to him? But in fact, this is the most cost-free thing to say. As long as you know a little about Xia Guixuan, you will know that he will not let you suffer like this. Sure enough, Xia Guixuan's tone became softer, and he rubbed its little head. "It's impossible for me to stay here permanently. I feel bad for causing you more trouble. Give me an auction card and I'll do it in the formal way. It's not like I'm short of money." "Oh," Xia Guixuan said obediently, "then master, come back to the castle with me to rest. The auction hasn't started yet. We can also take a look at the public list first." "Okay." Xia Guixuan stretched out his hand and grabbed Maya, who had been slapped away to somewhere, and was pulled back. "This guy is my guide in the short term. Can we talk about your grievances later?" There seemed to be a smile in Xia Guixuan's eyes. "I will do whatever the master says," Ling Moxa complained in his heart. It was obviously you who had taught Maya a painful lesson. The huge pirate group was beaten down to 2 or 3 kittens, and they all became servants of others. Unless they wanted to kill them all, they would not have to continue. Of course, they would give face to the master. But there was no need to say any of this. It just turned into a sentence: "I will do whatever the master says," with a cute face, like an obedient baby. It was really shameless. Such a black-bellied dragon. Is it really a dragon? Aren't dragons majestic? Maya was also complaining, sniffing and hiding his hands, shrinking to one side, not wanting to be a guide at all, but it was a pity that he had to walk the path he chose even if he had to kneel down. "After all this time, I finally got into a den of thieves. The gentleman who thought he was the backer was actually the real backer of the little princess. I was so stupid. I only knew that he played with female slaves, but he didn't even let go of Lolly. I knew that he played with people, but he also played with dragons. Should we fast forward to the point where he didn't even let go of mushrooms? According to this situation, the little mushroom planet will now be basically a situation where the little princess has the final say. It is also very likely that it is based on her having this backer, otherwise it may not be her turn to be in charge. This is a new discovery. Hey. If this is the case, it seems that I haven't embraced the wrong thigh. If we are all the same master. Just like Ling Moxa shouting and killing me, so what? Just please the gentleman, can you, Ling Moxu, really cut me? Moi rolled her eyes, and I don't know what bad idea she came up with. Xia Guixuan was already happily pulling Xia Guixuan's sleeve. "Master, come to my palace, it's so beautiful," Xia Guixuan said. "Aren't we going there by the shuttle?" "Where are you taking me?" "Oh, just let the 2 servants take the shuttle. Master can ride me over." Xia Guixuan, 2 servants. Ling Moxu glanced at Moya and confirmed that it was one of them. "Who is the other one?" Maya looked at her sympathetically, slowly watching Ling Moxa with her long hair standing on end and her sword energy flying. "You stinky snake, please explain yourself clearly." Xia Guixuan looked flustered. "Ah. Master, did I say something wrong? This girl is your..." Xia Guixuan found that there was no way to say the word slave girl at this time, otherwise Ling Moxa might jump off the mushroom star. But it seemed that the little dragon didn't mean it. He couldn't keep a straight face, just said, "Don't talk nonsense, that's your sister Moxu, call me sister." Xia Guixuan smiled apologetically. Sister Moxu, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Please go to Sister Moxa to board the boat, someone will pick you up to the castle when you get there." I am just a little dragon, I can only take one person, take master over first." The little white dragon became 3 meters long, carried Xia Guixuan and was about to run away. Ling Moxu was furious. "Isn't this still treating me as a servant?" Then she looked a little apologetic. If she really argued with her, she would seem petty. She was so angry that she almost exploded. As she was running wild, a gentle energy rolled over and rolled her over. Xia Guixuan sat horizontally on the dragon's back, holding Ling Moxa horizontally in his arms, and smiled softly. "She can only take one person, but I can take you." Ling Moxu could clearly see from the corner of her eyes that the arrogant little white dragon had completely wilted, and it looked like it was dying and couldn't even fly. Ling Moxu knew instantly that Xia Guixuan actually understood. She really thought that he would not be able to see through these little tricks after living for who knows how many years. It was just that he was soft-hearted and couldn't say it directly. But this performance shows that the master still cares about me. Her mood instantly changed from the edge of going berserk to happy and sweet one. She deliberately put her arms around Xia Guixuan's neck and made a seductive voice that she couldn't make when she was a slave girl in the past. Master, do you like dragon sex? I can do it. The little white dragon shook all over and almost fell over. Xia Guixuan's palace is located in the core celestial body of the small mushroom galaxy. It is not the largest celestial body, but on the contrary the smallest. This celestial body is not responsible for growing mushrooms, but a complete station. Xia Guixuan's small palace, galaxy management, business management, and the gathering place of the Interstellar Chamber of Commerce are all here. Generally, outsiders cannot directly reach this core mushroom. They have to stop outside and then be taken there by a special receiving spacecraft, which is also a link of safety guarantee. This should be the only time in history that a little princess turned into a dragon and took it there. The mushroom people were even afraid that this scene would be seen by outsiders, and the face of the mushroom galaxy would be lost. Xia Guixuan herself didn't want to be seen by outsiders, because the master she was carrying was still holding a woman horizontally and eating her with relish, and she almost didn't shake. If others see this, how can I be a little princess? The little white dragon flew to the castle in a hurry, put down the stinky master, and turned into a little girl again, sniffing. Two people are too heavy, I'm still young? Ling Moxu had already vented all her anger, and looked at the interior of the castle with her hands behind her back with a smile. The more she looked, the more she felt a sense of déjà vu. The glittering interior, everything is shiny, even the floor is shiny, the chair is obviously a large soft chair, visually it is still shiny, and I don't know what material it is. I heard that in the legend of the mother planet, the western dragon likes shiny things, and the eastern dragon is also envied by the treasures in the dragon palace, and was beaten by monkeys for this. Now this alien dragon is also a wealthy merchant, living in a magnificent small castle, everything is shiny. Who said that dragons of different civilizations are different? From this aspect alone, it is obvious that the commonality is obvious. The only difference is, where did this dead black belly come from? Chapter 191 Zelter's Exhaustion Master, this is the public list of the auction. This is your favorite tea. This is the pure water collected from the water elements of the universe. But because it is too pure, it may lack the trace elements that Master likes. I don't know how to mix it. Master, please make do with it. In the small room of the castle, Xia Guixuan even drove away the maids, and ran up and down to serve tea and water to Xia Guixuan. Her little face was rosy, and she no longer looked depressed after being caught doing something naughty. It was as if nothing had happened. Ling Moxu glanced at her, thinking that although this girl was a bad lolly with a dark heart, she was really good to her master, so she didn't want to say much, mainly because she was too lazy to argue with a child. The child was very cute, a delicate little dragon man, and she wore a mushroom hat in a funny way, as if to say that she and the mushroom man were together. I am also a little mushroom. The look really made me want to kiss her, so I was even more lazy to argue. God knows the real age of this child is probably her grandmother. This list, Xia Guixuan glanced at it and frowned. There are no two things I need. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, the public list is just to give the participants a general idea of what the goals are. In fact, there are reserved items at the end, which are temporary appraisals and auctions. This is the time to test your eyesight and financial resources the most. Ah, Master, do you have money? Universal pure energy crystals, that kind of thing. I can get as much as I want with just a pinch of my hand. It's nothing more than draining the energy around your galaxy. It's not good. But I guess you don't need that much, right? Xia Guixuan, Moi, what are we trying to do as merchants and pirates? Ling Moxu was also thinking, you were raised by a vixen at home because of a few big Xia coins. Forget it, mortals can't guess the thoughts of the powerful. Forget it, Xia Guixuan sighed, I'll give Master money, so don't drain the energy of this star field, otherwise I don't know if it will affect the growth of the mushrooms. Moi glanced at her and simply said, I have some there too. Following this master, why do you need money? What's the point of currying favor with him? Xia Guixuan had no consciousness of living off his apprentice, so he nodded naturally and continued to look at the list. Some things are quite interesting and a good addition. There is something about this dimension teleporter. Is your dimension travel a similar technology? Almost. But each of them has some immature aspects, otherwise I would not have run into Master's house that year. If you want to locate a very distant fantasy world, at least 7 or 8 dimensions apart, can you locate it accurately? Even Master can't do it, right? Accurate positioning across 7 or 8 dimensions. Well, I want to find something from another mountain. Xia Guixuan understood. Master wants to go to the Thousand Edges fantasy world? This is their unique skill. We can't do it. Even they can't come directly. Xia Guixuan didn't say anything more. He searched the list for a moment and was a little surprised. Huh? Zelter also has things to auction. That's right, there wasn't any before. This was added yesterday. The fact that Zelter would send people to consign treasure shows that they are indeed under a certain degree of tension in the situation of the Donglan War and the current Gongsun Jiu attack, and they need a large amount of energy for the upgrade of their spiritual bodies and the fission of beasts, as well as the replenishment of warships, commonly known as rapid military expansion. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, the taxes they collect from ordinary trade stars and the return of resources from pirates raised outside seem to be insufficient. Ling Moxa complained, why do they need to take into account trade taxes and pirate contraband? For such a large star domain overlord, their energy reserves should be very sufficient. Why do they need to cram at the last minute? Let's count a little more. It means that Gongsun Jiu has put a lot of pressure on them, and I don't know what the current war situation is like. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, in fact, Gongsun Jiu is just a fuse. The real key lies in the fact that Gongsun Jiu's consecutive victories have caused other civilizations to become a little restless. Xia Guixuan became interested. Tell me in detail. Although the sphere of influence of Zelt is not as large as the Milky Way in Master's home galaxy, it has about 30,000 stars. It can be regarded as a small star system, which is also very powerful. Civilizations have been born around more than a dozen of these stars. No matter how outrageous their queen's brain control ability is, it is impossible for it to spread to such a distant place and get out of control. So of course it is still deterrence and submission. Many civilizations on the Gmaeo star are in this way of subordination and submission, not annexation. Xia Guixuan nodded, I understand. In other words, this war has made some forces see Zelt's exhaustion and have the intention to rebel, not necessarily for the time being, but the deterrent power is not so stable. Zelt certainly hopes to solve the problem quickly. Otherwise, if the tug of war continues, who knows if all kinds of rebellions and independence will emerge? After all, Zelt's rule is quite barbaric most of the time. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, then, in other more distant star regions, there are strong enemies too, but because they are too far away, there is generally no conflict. But if they are really weak, it's hard to say. Maya suddenly said, maybe there are more. Those pirates are not good people. They are very likely to take advantage of the situation. If I have 1,000 ships now, I would not be Maya if I don't take the opportunity to rob them and make them burn everywhere. Xia Guixuan said, you are not smart, but you are arrogant. Maya glared at Xia Guixuan and looked at the ceiling. Ling Moxa understood more and more as he listened, and whispered, just like the war between countries, the victory or defeat may not only depend on the comparison of national strength, but also on many internal and external factors. It's a pity that Kanglong Star is still a little weak, and there are not enough people. The battle line should not be stretched too long and cannot be further deepened. Otherwise, it is not impossible to destroy Zelt in one fell swoop. Now it can only be confined to the Slorg war zone. If it goes further, it will suffer. She hesitated for a moment, and there were still some things she didn't say. In fact, with the descendants of gods, Kanglong Star is still strong, but the two sides cannot join forces. At least this time, the war was entirely carried out by the fleet under Gongsun Jiu, and had nothing to do with the descendants of gods. If it weren't for the trust in Xia Guixuan to prevent the descendants of gods from stealing the house, maybe Dasha would not have dared to do so this time. Of course, the descendants of gods also went on the expedition. The father god Xia Guixuan himself. No matter how Gongsun Jiu claimed that he didn't want to rely on him, Xia Guixuan was not traveling and doing nothing. Almost every action of his had a very clear goal. 1. To prepare for the death of the Dark Demon. 2. To disrupt the internal disputes in Zelt. 3. To understand the Queen. This is also a benchmark for the War of Gods. Once the Queen goes crazy and goes on the expedition herself, it is not something the fleet can handle. So what if they can collapse, and it is impossible to destroy or occupy? It still depends on their future development. Even if Xia Guixuan kills the other queen, they will still split into two civilizations and occupy the galaxy respectively. If their descendants are unreliable in the future, they will still be attacked again. Chinese history has proved this cycle countless times, and even the worst students should understand it. In the end, we should rely on ourselves, not the gods. This counterattack is already beneficial enough. We have finally started to connect with the civilization of the star field and are no longer a closed corner. While thinking, I heard Xia Guixuan's voice again. Master, what Zelter put out to sell are also some treasures that have been looted over the years, and they are not their own important items. There is no point in studying this list all the time. Oh, Xia Guixuan seemed to have just woken up and smiled. I'm not thinking about this list. The list itself is nothing good. I'm thinking, there always seems to be something going on in an auction. It seems that if nothing goes wrong, it would be a shame to my status. Could it be that Zelter's people want to make trouble? Xia Guixuan couldn't help laughing. Master, how many Daxia novels have you read? We have held auctions if not 10,000 times, at least 8,000 times. There are always people making trouble. We couldn't hold it a long time ago? Xia Guixuan shook his head slightly. Zelter putting things up for auction always makes me feel weird, like showing weakness. I have a feeling that something big will happen tomorrow. Even the outcome of this large war is about to come to an end. There must be some kind of connection between them. Thanks to Wuduin 233 and the two brothers who joined the alliance, the number of alliance leaders has reached 70. Chapter 192, The Law of Fantasy, Auction Must. As Xia Guixuan said, Xia Guixuan was only the host and the host of the venue, and she also collected transaction taxes, but the items in the auction were not hers. She even had an extra layer of shekels compared to ordinary bidders. If the host personally participated in the auction, it would easily cause other bidders to give face to her more or less, and if it happened too many times, people would not like to come to your host place anymore. Therefore, the hosts of all generations rarely bid by themselves, unless they happen to run into something they really wanted, otherwise they would generally not cause this kind of suspicion. Being too close to the guests in public was obviously also a matter of suspicion. Since Xia Guixuan was thinking about her, Xia Guixuan did not insist, and left Xia Guixuan an independent VIP auction room, and she did not follow him. The auction venue is mediocre, because such venues no longer needed high-tech today. Isolating each VIP room from detection has been the standard for many years. An ordinary venue is fine, and everyone came to buy things, not to observe technology. There was a light screen in the center, on which digital information could be seen from different angles, and no one needed to shout out which VIP room had offered how much. If the bidder wants to bid, he can just input the price into the device at hand. It is worth mentioning that the auction host is a standard intelligent life rather than artificial intelligence. This kind of work that requires mobilizing the atmosphere and judging the person is the most difficult to be replaced by artificial intelligence. When artificial intelligence understands emotions and atmosphere, it has self-thinking and wisdom. Yin Xiaoru was so scared before, but Xia Guixuan saw this day from the digitalized gods of Jimeo Star. It was a wisdom enlightenment different from puppetry and enlightenment, a typical direction of creation. What is the difference with a humanized system classification in the system text? So he learned programming from Ling Moxu, not to really program to make artificial intelligence, but for reference. You can learn from others' ways and try to integrate them into your own system. Ling Moxu felt that the master was more silent after leaving Jimeo Star. The time when he was tricked by Maya's crystal was not counted. At other times, he was indeed more silent and more worried. The pursuit of the Tao is always the first priority, at least in Xia Guixuan's heart at present. It still surpasses everything. You see, even when he was sitting in the VIP room of the auction house, surrounded by luxurious facilities and a soft and fragrant little slave girl, he was thinking about this kind of thing. He even swallowed the grapes that a little slave girl had peeled and brought to his mouth subconsciously, as if he was in a trance. Ling Moxu felt that although she could be considered to be devoted to the Tao and had been determined and pursued since childhood, the Tao and some other things could actually overlap. Because her heavenly Tao was him, when Xia Guixuan asked if she wanted to change her path, Ling Moxu said she didn't need to. As long as you like it, that's it. So it seems to be more pure. Well, the way of the sword should be pure. The following auction is a plane jumper, which can accurately locate the planes. It is a must-have for interstellar and plane travelers. It comes with a technical crystal. which may not be the same as the technology of each company. Even if you have it, it can also serve as a technical reference. The starting price is 10,000 geese pure energy crystals, and the price will increase by 1,000 each time. For a long time, no one bid. It seems that people are more interested in this kind of thing, and they are not very interested. Although it is indeed useful, it seems too expensive. Xia Guixuan came to his senses. Moxu, buy this. Ling Moxu entered 10,000, and the central light screen showed VIP number 8 bids 10,000, straightforward. No one competed, and it seemed that if they did not bid, it would be unsold. Master, doesn't this mean that it may not be of much use? Moxu, do you know that in many novels, the villains buy things for an important purpose? Well, use this thing to find the original owner. The lower level villains will interrogate the organizer, but people like us who are so classy, when we give me something, I can tell where the seller is as soon as I sense it. Even if he deliberately erases all traces, it can't be erased in my eyes. Ling Moxu, you say it's so classy, but aren't I still a villain? But what I want to do is not to be a villain. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, if we can invite this seller to Kanglong Star as a technical guide and consultant, that is the source of technology, not the technology of a single instrument. With such a source, we may be able to study how to go to Qianling fantasy world. Otherwise, that thing is a thorn in our throat, and we don't know how many landmines are buried. Ling Moxu is stunned. They have to be willing, so we are villains, Xia Guixuan said confidently. If they don't want to go, we will bribe them. If bribery doesn't work, we will force them. It's not a big deal, Ling Moxu. You just said you're not a villain, thinking for the country. What's a villain? Ling Moxu smiled. Yeah, you have to be so thick-skinned, okay. Is that your country? Yeah, that's your ball. Master, what if the final appraisal still doesn't find what you want? Why don't you seem worried? Did I say that it was something that I had to have? Xia Guixuan grabbed her slender hand and touched it. That's something I want to be safe. It's good to have it, but not having it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't do anything about the dark demon. It just takes a little more effort. Besides, do you have any expectation that Gongsun Jiu can really deal with the dark demon by himself? Ling Moxu thought for a while. It's a bit contradictory. I hope he can do it, and I hope to find human research on taking level life from the research on the dark demon, but I don't want it to make the master no longer important to Kanglong Star. Xia Guixuan looked at her with some complexity in his eyes. After a long while, he whispered, you treat me better than a certain girl with the glasses. Ling Moxu smiled, leaned over and kissed him, and said softly, I am your little slave girl, at least in my eyes you are real. She is a little cookie, hiding her head and showing her tail. Maybe you are just an illusion in each other's eyes. Xia Guixuan seemed to be thinking about something. The auction below is for a treasure from the Great Zelt Empire, a fossilized egg of an alien beast from an ancient civilization. Don't underestimate this fossil, because it still has energy reactions inside. If a god uses certain methods, it has a great chance of being hatched. This is something that has survived billions of years. Whether you are trying to hatch it as a summoned beast or researching sealed immortality, it has supreme value. The starting price. Before he finished speaking, a terrifying laugh came from the sky above the entire star field. No need to bid. Everything here is for our gods. There was a commotion in the venue. Maya's expression changed drastically. Sure enough, something happened, and it was such a brutal thing. Xia Guixuan felt the energy level of the other party, and slowly asked Maya, what god? Where does this come from? Maya's lips were trembling. The god of plunder that has been circulating in the pirate group. I thought it was just a legend, but I didn't expect it to exist. Sir, this kind of god is not from a single star field, it is cross-border. Cross-border. Xia Guixuan looked up and felt for a moment, and suddenly smiled. Who isn't? In a few words, the sky above the entire mushroom galaxy was filled with warships like clouds. Nearly 100,000 warships of various types were densely packed all over the starry sky. From a distance, they looked like mushrooms covered with mold. Xiang Yuxin's voice came out calmly, even if it's your Xianji pirate group, doing such a thing is a taboo. Just for the resources of an auction, why do you invite the joint suppression of all the stars and worlds? Have you become a big head? The voice laughed strangely. Little princess, there is no need to make a big deal. As long as everyone knows what's good for you, we are not killing people. We are just looking for money. You came here specifically for something. Since you are here, other things can be taken along. Ha ha ha, little princess is still smart. Who told you to check so strictly and require an invitation letter? Otherwise, we can just come in and buy it, and we are embarrassed to make a big fuss. Since we are here, we can't let the brothers go without any bonuses, right? Xia Guixuan's eyes fell on the fossil of the alien egg in the field. It's for this. But this thing is a bit weird. The feeling it gave him was very similar to that of the strange red moon, but more vivid, as if someone was controlling it. Xia Guixuan was in her host room with her face flushed with anger. She had finally invited her master to come and play once, but she had encountered such a thing. Yesterday she had boasted to her master that she had auctioned 10,000 times without any problems, but now she was slapped in the face like this. Do you really think that we dragons have no temper? Xia Guixuan was about to lose her temper when she heard her master's telepathy. Let them rob. There will be more fun in this matter, there will be no more tonight. Chapter 193, the little hand of the hunting god that was slamming the table in anger at you soon hung in the air, and seamlessly turned into scratching his head, feeling a little distressed. Because she is not a weakling who can't resist this matter. She still has the entire galaxy defense system and some trump cards. She can also summon the family elders who are free outside the starry sky to help. That is the core of her family, which is very strong. The merchants attending the meeting are not weaklings. Those who can receive such an auction invitation cannot be small merchants. They are all leaders of a faction or giant merchants who shuttle through various star regions. What scenes have they not seen? Such a sudden incident, there are only some subconscious small disturbances in the field, but no one is panicked, and everyone is quite calm. There are thousands of merchant ships parked outside the designated stationing stars, and everyone has frigates hidden in the void behind. The combined power is terrifying, as long as there is a chance to prevent them from becoming hostages and return to their own fleet. Therefore, even a powerful force like Zelter will respect such an interstellar chamber of commerce and send things to auction in a serious manner, following the rules. Since there are Zelter's things on the scene, under normal circumstances, no pirate group would dare to do such a daring act. God knows what medicine this Xianji pirate group took wrong this time. Of course, if the opponent has a god in person, it may be impossible to defeat them, but they should try to run away with everyone, otherwise how can they do business in the future? Looking at everyone's eyes, they are just waiting for her to do something as the host. In addition, the master is here, and the master is willing to take action, then they will definitely win. But the master said let them grab, which is a bit difficult to do. Xia Guixuan touched her chin, her eyes rolled around for several circles, and quietly pressed the button at hand. With a squeak, the entire small mushroom celestial body suddenly moved, looking like a mushroom rushing towards the direction of the station star. The pirate group in the air, as the mushroom celestial body moved, its shape also changed synchronously during the movement. The assembly auction venue where everyone was located began to sink, disappearing into the ground and becoming an inner cabin. Xia Guixuan's sparkling little castle turned into the bow control cabin. It turns out that the entire mushroom celestial body is a modified warship. All the ground buildings are actually cabins for different purposes. The main control is in Xia Guixuan's castle, which is controlled by the Dragon King's guards and can escape at any time. The pirate group was stunned for a moment, but they were not completely unprepared. They quickly surrounded the four sides. You can't escape, little princess. Do you really think we will let you return to your own warship? Who is stupider than who? The reason why the pirate group dared to surround a group of merchants was, of course, because they saw that they were not on their own frigates at this time. As long as the leaders of this mushroom celestial body were trapped, no matter how strong the fleet outside was, they would be at a loss. The pirates were cunning. How could they possibly go hard with all the merchant fleets? In just a moment, all kinds of diversionary artillery fire intertwined the space in front of Xia Guixuan's escape. Little princess, stay, don't force us to do something that is not very compassionate. Before the voice fell, the mushroom battleship suddenly fired from behind, and a round cannonball rushed towards the other flagship at the speed of light. The pirate flagship subconsciously opened fire to blast away this retro stream cannonball. Boom, smoke dispersed, and a huge shadow blocked the pirate flagship, blocking the flagship's fire with one hand and catching the round cannonball with the other hand. That was not a cannonball, it was clearly the fossilized egg of an alien beast. The shadow was the god of plunder? Xia Guixuan smiled. He was only at the peak of the Wuxiang realm, and people were calling him a god. This star field was small after all. Xia Guixuan took advantage of the fact that the god of plunder was determined to get the eggs of the alien beast, and fired cannonballs to induce the other party to bombard, forcing the god of plunder to show up and stop him. The direct consequence was that the other party's flagship was blocked by its own gods, and the entire fleet formation was in chaos, and even the command of the fleet was temporarily stagnant. The various types of light cannons intertwined in front had flaws, and the small mushroom battleship whooshed through the interception net and left. Xia Guixuan's band came from the void, a grimace. Goodbye. This is also an expert who has been in the star field for hundreds of years, and he is not just hiding in the castle to change clothes and act cute. The plundering god looked down at the beast egg in his hand and waved his other hand. Don't let them go back. The implication was that he wanted to take the lives of these people, not just their money. The pirate fleet chased after them again. At this time, a merchant in the mushroom battleship spoke up. Little princess, Zelter is putting this item up for auction. I'm afraid he has ulterior motives. Xia Guixuan asked curiously. Does Uncle Rocky know any inside information? Rocky sighed. Different gods have their own characteristics, and there is also a saying that they have different paths. As for this god of plunder, since he is named after plunder, he naturally uses war to support war. Plundering other people's energy treasures is just a representation, and the more important thing is to plunder all kinds of characteristics, or laws, as their own ladder. And this alien beastig, although he knew that he could not see anything if he looked back in the inner cabin, he still couldn't help turning his head and looking back. This alien beast egg is very likely to contain the characteristics of some prehistoric civilization, and it may be related to the hatching and breeding of beasts. So when it was discovered, Queen Zelter and the god of plunder had a fight and snatched it. Hiss. Xia Guixuan took a breath of cold air. There is such a past. Other merchants nodded and said, if it were in the past, when Zelt was in his prime, even if this thing was placed in front of him, the god of plunder might not dare to snatch it. It should have been scared at the time. But now is different from the past. Zelt is exhausted and is throwing this thing out for auction in exchange for energy. It would be strange if the god of plunder did not take the opportunity to covet it, diverting conflicts at the same time. Making our interstellar merchants and the pirate group against each other, Xia Guixuan seemed to understand. This way the pirates will have no time to cause trouble in her rear, right? Otherwise, if she has 1,000 ships, she would not be Maya if she is not robbed of them and is furious. Merchant, Maya, from this point of view, Zelt is really so weak, Xia Guixuan said to herself. Why do I feel that this kind of diverting conflicts makes sense on the surface, but actually has the opposite effect? It makes Zelt seem so weak that anyone can bite her, which is not good. It's okay if it makes sense on the surface. Xia Guixuan transmitted his thoughts. The plundering god, who was tempted by the alien beastig, did not think about the deeper reasons. On the surface, he analyzed that it was really caused by Zelter's exhaustion, so he came. Xia Guixuan looked around. The merchants were all gathered in the inner cabin hall, but the master was nowhere to be seen. Where was he transmitting the message? She also replied, in other words, the queen actually has other ideas. Yes, she is very good at playing the virtual and real sets, Xia Guixuan said. Look at the back. Xia Guixuan glanced at the main control screen. At first glance, she was scared to death, because the enemy fleet was about to surround them. And the merchants thought they were in control and had no idea that they were not out of danger yet. They were talking about history one by one. But after taking another look at the split screen, Xia Guixuan knew that there was no need to operate any warships. Because the plundering god seemed to be wrong. After he obtained the alien beastig, he originally let the pirate fleet chase the mushroom ship while he stood in the void to study the alien beast egg. It seemed that he did not get any results from observing and sensing. So he probed into the divine consciousness and prepared to analyze the internal characteristics. But just as the divine consciousness probed in, the entire phantom froze for a moment. Xia Guixuan could see that this state seemed to have touched some trap and fell into a serious divine consciousness confrontation. The divine consciousness confrontation was the most dangerous. Even if a wisp of divine consciousness was defeated or swallowed, it could lead to serious injuries. Xia Guixuan did not dare to casually use his divine consciousness to spy on the head of the palace, for fear of another ambush. The plundering god obviously did not expect that this fossilized egg of an alien beast that seemed to have not been opened for billions of years actually contained a trap. This thing was not used to show weakness, nor was it used to divert conflicts. All the possibilities on the surface were smoke. It was used to hunt him down. Chapter 194 Queen. Just as the pirate fleet was about to surround the mushroom ship, the god of plunder in the rear suddenly let out a painful roar. Just a roar, the energy wave spread like a ripple in the void, sweeping across the tail of the fleet. Boom boom boom, several explosions sounded, the tails of several pirate ships burst, burning and crashing. The screams of the pirates came from the void, but their gods had no intention of paying attention to them. The pirate fleet was so scared that they subconsciously scattered away. How dare they gather around here? Xia Guixuan took the opportunity to arrive at the station star, and the warships stationed here docked one after another, and all the merchants returned to their cabins. In the blink of an eye, the fleet rose up and confronted the pirate ship in the air. But no one was in the mood to really fight, and everyone's observation direction was focused on the god of plunder. The changes over there were too unexpected for people, and ordinary people couldn't even understand it. Xia Guixuan understood it and watched it with relish. The god of plunder may be quite powerful in his body, belonging to the practical type, and his practical ability is much stronger than that of the sitting or drug-taking faction. Level may not represent everything, but it has a similarity with the state when Qi Shangzhao fought the dark demon before. They are all spirits descending, and the main body is not here. The dark demon is hidden in a void rift, and the god of plunder should be a god in a small world. The split spirit is causing trouble in this star field, so it can't do much, and can only gather a group of interstellar pirates to become the largest pirate group. Although he is famous on weekdays, he plunders and kills countless people. Even Maya dares not breathe after hearing his fierce reputation. I guess Zelter is also very annoyed by this pirate force. After all, their official fleet is often under threat, and pirates don't talk to you about official reasons. But the split spirit is just a split spirit after all, and it has great shortcomings and limitations. Once a real tough battle starts, the dark demon is suppressed by Xia Guixuan with an injury and can't move. This god of plunder is not as good as the dark demon. What will happen if he really encounters a tough guy? Xia Guixuan's eyes seemed to see through the layers of disguise wrapped around the fossils and saw the truth inside. The same properties as the red moon, a large fossil with a diameter of several meters. The rest are fake, only the core has factors smaller than cells, which can feel the energy reaction. If you don't touch it, it seems nothing will happen. Just a kind of subtle absorption. Once the mind probes in and tries to analyze it, you can't get away. It's like being tightly sucked by a magnet, and then madly absorbing and grabbing mind, soul power, and even the law. The plundering god who has been plundering for his whole life, seizing other people's attributes and laws to strengthen himself, was robbed in reverse. Still can't get out. It's like a mortal stepping into a quagmire. The harder you struggle, the faster you sink. At first, only the mind was absorbed, and a slight struggle would make you sink deeper and deeper. The mind, soul power, and even the entire soul were pulled, as if there was a terrifying vortex inside. It was impossible to get rid of the fossil in your hand. The more you struggle, the more painful it is. Even screaming. Just as the merchants returned to their respective ships, the illusory body of the plundering god had become increasingly blurred, and his soul power had been sucked out of shape. A faint golden rune began to appear around him. That was his law, which had been forced to emerge. If even the law was absorbed, the power of the immortal god would be gone, and he would be reduced to the level of an ordinary practitioner. Roar! The plundering god looked up to the sky and howled. The space around him was faintly cracked, and then it was like a mirror shattered. A real body broke through the boundary and a muscular giant merged with a phantom. This was the arrival of the real body, and I hoped to use the strongest power to fight against it. Xia Guixuan shook his head slightly. It was too late. In fact, if the power was strong enough, it could indeed fight, just like when he used the energy of the stars to hide the red moon. The red moon could not absorb it and could only escape. Assuming that the plundering god had descended from the beginning, maybe he could really break free, but unfortunately he was one step late, and when the split soul had been absorbed to the point where even the law could not be hidden, it was already deeply mired and could not be broken. If the main body came over, it would be more dead. If the main body decisively abandoned the distraction, the main body could still retreat to heal, and the opponent would only get the power of the distraction and some laws. Once the strongest force was used to fight, it would be completely trapped. Unfortunately, in the game, you may not think so much. In the stunned eyes of everyone, the giant with a body as big as a mountain was shrinking smaller and smaller. That was because all the flesh and energy were sucked away. It was not the soul that shrank, but the flesh, just like a normal person was sucked alive into a dwarf. The pain of flesh and bones can be imagined, and all the onlookers shuddered when they thought about it. There was no energy in the void, and all the energy was sucked tightly by the fossils, greedily grabbing everything. But such a quiet atmosphere was even more creepy. Including the pirate ship, all the ships were scattered far away. The pirate fleet seemed to have quietly turned around and wanted to run away. Even if they wanted to save their own gods, they couldn't save them. Ling Moxo tightly gripped the hilt of the sword and whispered to Xia Guixuan, "Master, are we just going to watch? Just watch, don't even let the other party know we are here, otherwise the little lolly will have a hard time in the future." Xia Guixuan's little face was shining. Ling Moxo pouted, not knowing whether the master was teasing the child or speaking the truth. But Xia Guixuan whispered, "If this plundering god still has some strength, he can force something out, just watch." Before he finished speaking, the golden rune surrounding the giant turned into a golden giant axe in midair, angrily slashing at the fossil in his hand. He still has some skills. On one hand, he fights with all his strength, and on the other hand, he secretly diverts energy and condenses the power of the law. As long as he can smash the core in one fell swoop, he can still suck back what the other party absorbs. Xia Guixuan smiled. Unfortunately, the other party is not a passive core. As he said this, smoke suddenly rose from the surface of the fossil. Pink smoke. A slender jade hand came out from the smoke, and the white jade-like palm gently pinched the axe blade of the golden giant axe, just like pinching a naughty child. A light laugh came from the smoke. "I have been waiting for your law to manifest for a long time, the axe of plunder." Dang! Another hand slapped the giant's chest heavily, and the giant could no longer hold the axe. The axe turned over, and the axe blade swept across the giant's neck, cutting off his head with one axe. Blood gushed out like a stream, all absorbed into the fossil, and the fossil flashed a bright red color like a red moon, and then gradually disappeared. A soul escaped from the giant's head. "It turns out that your show of weakness was fake from beginning to end." "You wait." He couldn't finish his harsh words because he couldn't escape. The slender hand snapped his fingers. Among the pirate ships that seemed to be running away, half of them turned their guns and fired at the giant's soul. Giant, boom, the soul fell back and fell into the grasp of the slender hand. Of course it was all fake from the beginning to the end. Zelter just lost a few battles, and you pirates also want to take advantage of the situation? Huh. Did Gongsun Jiu's consecutive victories in Slorg also mean that you deliberately pretended to lose? What do you think? The queen did not answer his question at all, and pinched her slender hand. With a scream, she turned into a distorted shadow and was sucked away by the fossil. Everything returned to silence. The smoke gradually turned into a female body. The smoke was still lingering and no one could see her, but her voice was already chuckling. "Your gods are dead, and their souls are my nutrients. Do you want to consider a group in your pirate group?" Half of them turned their guns around before, which meant that there were already many of our people in the pirate group. What moral integrity do pirates have? The god they depended on died, so they just changed it, not to mention that there was someone to lead the way. Almost in the blink of an eye, all the pirate ships sent out the surrender signal, replaced the marks in battle flags belonging to Zelter, and slowly gathered around the queen. The queen's smoky body was just an ordinary human form, but a little tall and thin, like a grain of rice in front of the warships. But tens of thousands of warships gathered behind her, and from the perspective of the merchants, she looked like a huge god, leading a rolling torrent, suffocating them. Maybe Zelter originally lacked warships, lacked manpower, and there were fires everywhere, but now they are no longer lacking. In the face made of smoke, there was a flash of electricity, which actually looked like a smile. Zelter will not condone pirates to rob legitimate merchants at will. It is our responsibility as the overlord of the star field to ensure your business safety. Today, the robbery pirate group no longer exists. Everyone has only completed half of the auction before we can continue. P.S. Sorry, I ate melons for too long last night, so I slept for a day. There are only 2 more, but I still shamelessly ask for the last day of the double monthly ticket today, covering my face. As for the melon, I didn't participate. If we get A, just don't worry about it, don't worry. Chapter 195 Tracking. After leaving the sentence, the queen led the pirate fleet away. Tens of thousands of pirate ships cut through the void, entered the wormhole she opened, and disappeared in the thunder. The scene was spectacular and bizarre. Hunting immortals, collecting fleets, and suppressing merchants, the queen appeared for only a few dozen breaths, and her graceful aura has been imprinted in everyone's heart and lingering, and even forgot that no one has ever seen her appearance, and it will always be just a fog. A group of interstellar merchant ships were silent, and they didn't even know whether this auction was necessary to continue. Everyone is an old man in the arena, and in fact, many people know that the Queen's operation is essentially because Zelter is a little weak, so she needs to use treasures to bury the trap, and she, as the Queen, needs to go out personally. But she took advantage of this situation and took advantage of everyone's stupidity to make this plan, otherwise it might not be possible to trap the plundering god at an ordinary time. From then on, the most troublesome Sky Tribulation pirates in the star field were wiped out overnight, and the short-sleeved Zelter also received a huge reinforcement. All the forces and other pirates who were ready to move would shrink after hearing about this, and the alien star field would definitely be more cautious after hearing about this. Awe-inspiring. The only confusion is why she could have gone out to fight, but she didn't target Gongsun Jiu first, but first designed this distant chamber of commerce and pirates? Did she think that Gongsun Jiu was a small threat that could be defeated? Xia Guixuan touched her round chin and pondered for a long time, and sent a telepathic message. Are you still going to auction, Master? Master, the little girl jumped up and found that her master was gone. Even Ling Moxa was gone. Only Moi was left standing there stupidly, saying to her, Sir and Miss Ling just disappeared, and didn't tell me anything. They disappeared, most likely to follow the Queen. Xia Guixuan held a glimmer of hope. Leave you here, maybe he will come to pick you up. Moi wanted to say that it was hard to tell what that person was thinking. Maybe he really just threw it away like trash. After all, he might not need a guide in the future, and if he really needed a guide, he might not need Moi. But she didn't dare to say it when the words came to her lips. Once she said that she was thrown away like trash, she would really be chopped by the little princess. In the eyes of the little princess, she was a traitor, and they were not friends. He could only puff out his chest and said stubbornly, Of course, the Sir values me the most. Xia Guixuan said, Oh, someone, take Mr. Moi down and treat him well. Remember to use the best wet cell. You're welcome. Moi jumped up with a changed expression. You can't put me in the wet cell. I will get moldy. Xia Guixuan patted her mushroom cap with a smile. I am a mushroom too. I won't get moldy. You are a shitty mushroom. Moi was about to run away, but was picked up by two big men and dragged away. Maya struggled all the way. You, a poisonous snake disguised as a small mushroom, will be punished. Xia Guixuan seemed not to hear, shrinking in a big chair, looking at the stunned merchants, showing a sweet smile. Let's continue the auction. The one imprisoned by the little princess is Maya from the Big Head Pirate Group, right, Rocky? Who introduced the god of plunder before, said with a green face, the heart of light that I brought for appraisal and auction is missing. The little princess hopes to ask about it during the interrogation. Soon someone else said, the sun essence gold I brought from the other plane is also missing. Xia Guixuan blinked. Don't worry, uncles, I will definitely help you find the treasure. But the fossil absorbed energy so strangely just now. Uncles, are you sure it wasn't absorbed? The two were not sure, because everyone was too distracted just now, and the energy was indeed extremely chaotic at the time, and no one could figure it out. The main reason for the absorption is not easy to explain why only these two things are gone, but the others are still there? But the reason for the theft is the same. Why were these two stolen, but other more valuable items were not stolen? Everyone was confused, and Xia Guixuan smiled. What is the heart of light and the extra-dimensional sun essence gold? It must be the Chongyang wood heart and 9 Yang Zheng gold that the master wanted. They were stolen by the master. This master has never been old-fashioned. Forget it, the disciple pays the master's debt. The little girl made a pitiful expression. The two of you lost valuables here. In the final analysis, it was caused by our poor protection. If we can't track down the whereabouts, I will be responsible for compensation after the auction is over. The two merchants nodded. The little princess is fair. Forget it, it happened suddenly, no one expected such a thing to happen, and we are not stingy. Then Queen Zelter. Tisk-tisk, the merchants inadvertently revealed their awe of the Queen, and it was obvious that they were still in the scene just now and had not completely recovered. Xia Guixuan's eyes were dim, and she was a little worried about the master. This Queen is unfathomable. Master's injury hasn't healed yet, and he's carrying a woman who's a burden. Is it really okay? That Ling guy probably doesn't even have the ability to travel through space. It would be troublesome for Master to follow the Queen with one more person. Xia Guixuan took Ling Moxu and followed the queen and the fleet into the wormhole. The little mushroom star doesn't have this natural wormhole. This is an artificial wormhole, and it's a portable and movable entrance, which the queen carries with her. With this trick alone, Zelter's mobility may exceed Gongsun Jiayu's expectations. Fortunately, the entrance can be changed, and the exit should still be relatively directional. Otherwise, no civilization could withstand this sneak attack, and Kanglong Star would have been GG hundreds of years ago. The wormhole is not an instant entry and exit, there is still a twisted passage of time and space folding to go through. Xia Guixuan hugged Ling Moxu tightly in his arms, hiding her body and breath for her, and protecting her from the invasion of the surrounding time and space turbulence. The two quietly followed behind the fleet. Ling Moxu pursed her lips in fear and carefully sent a message, "Master, will I be a drag, huh?" Xia Guixuan hugged her with one hand and rubbed her head with the other. "The original intention of bringing you out is to let you experience. If you are abandoned because you are a drag, what's the point?" Ling Moxu pouted. "This master is good in everything except rubbing people's heads, as if treating people as children. But it is also. In front of him, the queen, and even the god of plunder, her practice and knowledge are really a child. But this queen is so powerful, I'm afraid that if the master wants to take care of me, I might suffer." Xia Guixuan smiled. "That's my choice." He did not deny that he might suffer, but looking at the misty back of the queen in the distance, he still smiled a little playfully. He connected some things in his mind and found it very interesting. "Your Majesty, the wormhole was not too long. Someone was already waiting outside the exit, kneeling in the void. We are incompetent." The Third Fleet was defeated again. The Guardian Corps was defeated one by Gongsun Jiayu because they were a little slow. The queen sneered. Was it a little slow, or was it that the two sides did not cooperate well? The generals of the two tribes knelt in front of her, not daring to breathe. The queen said coldly, "The pirate fleet has been incorporated. Gongsun Jiayu will not receive this news in the short term. How to win this battle? Do you need me to teach you?" The generals of the two tribes looked at the densely packed pirate fleet behind the queen, showing ecstasy. "Your Majesty, don't worry, if we still can't drive Gongsun Jiayu out of Slorge in this situation, come to see me with your heads." Xia Guixuan had already taken advantage of the chaos of the fleet leaving the cave, and took Ling Moxu out of the wormhole and hid in the distant void. After listening to this conversation, Xia Guixuan was thinking about the time when the god of plunder asked the queen, could it be that Gongsun Jiayu's consecutive victories were also fake defeats by you? The queen pretended to be cool and said, "What do you think? That was really pretending, deliberately making a mystery, just to create a sense of mystery and deterrence. The real reason is that the Zelt army in the Slorg war zone really can't beat Gongsun Jiayu, and the queen is also worried about this group of good-for-nothings. Many Zelt's veteran generals died in the previous Battle of Donglan, which cannot be compensated by exploding troops, and at the same time, as the queen said, their coordination is still problematic. It is not uncommon to lose against an opponent like Gongsun Jiayu. And the queen can't do it herself, because the previous judgment was correct. She had no ability to fight in person, and this time she relied entirely on a trick to deal with the god of plunder. Perhaps these pirate fleets didn't expect that if they really had the courage to fire, the misty phantom of the queen would have been blown away long ago. Chapter 196. On the eve of the War of Gods, Xia Guixuan did not continue to follow, and soon took Ling Moxu to the Slorge energy base, which was Gongsun Jiayu's base. When they got outside and saw the scene on the planet, a series of ellipses appeared in their hearts. The human warships were ready to go, and the energy was packed into barrels and transported to the transport ships. They were busy everywhere, as if they were preparing to evacuate. I was worried that he didn't know the latest developments. Without taking into account the combat power of the pirate group, he might suffer a great loss. As a result, he seemed to be ready to leave. It seemed that there was no need to even tip off. I don't know whether it was due to various inferences or just intuitive predictions, as sharp as a cheetah. "No," Ling Moxu said in surprise, "although they are preparing to retreat, they are not immediately. Master, look at the direction of their flagship. The Kanglong star field is west of Slorge, but the main fleet is heading north." Xia Guixuan looked north and whispered, "It seems that Gongsun Jiayu really found the crack of the dark demon. Even I couldn't figure out the specific coordinates. It's amazing." In the flagship of the Galaxy Fleet, Gongsun Jiayu looked at the big screen with a gloomy face, which showed a newly drawn star map. The significance of this battle for him has never been to push back, but to open up the channel to the outside world of the Kanglong Star region, breaking the blockade that has been held in for a long time. From then on, the exchanges between all parties will increase greatly, and Zelter will no longer be able to block them all. And the opponent, Slorge War Zone, which has never been understood, is known to all. From unfamiliar to vertical and horizontal, there can be countless plans in the future, relying on this change to implement. But everyone is tired. The supply line is too long, and the logistics of transportation from Kanglong Star cannot keep up. On-site looting can only relieve the needs for a while. Fortunately, the energy base was occupied early, otherwise the energy supply of the warships would have been insufficient. After more than a month of bloody battles, everyone is exhausted. No matter how they win, there will be war losses. A lot of warships have been lost, and casualties are not light. In the later period, there is no offensive and landing battle at all, and the battle has become a defensive battle. Zelter's continuous explosion of troops is really terrifying. After all, Daksha's strength is not enough to support such a long-term battle. Although they seemed to be winning battles one after another, they had actually lost their strategic significance. It was time to retreat. Otherwise, if they were isolated for a long time, they would suffer a big setback sooner or later. Gongsun Jiu had always been very clear-headed. There is another biggest difference between Zelt and us, Gongsun Jiu was saying to the generals around him, we have almost no diplomacy, and our understanding of the star field is very shallow. In the past, our merchant ships and our pirates were all excluded and it was difficult for them to integrate. But Zelt is not like that. They have many points to exploit, and they can't just rely on themselves. The veteran General Yu Gihan who recommended Xia Guixuan as a staff officer nodded and said, that's right. After fighting for more than a month, if Zelt still keeps his head down and fights like he did at the beginning, it would be unworthy of being called the overlord of the star field. They will have other forces to join the war, which is unpredictable. It's time to quit while we are ahead, a staff officer said, but in theory, our war should shake the minds of other forces. Maybe there will be a rebellion. If we can get in touch, Gongsun Jiu shook his head. Not only do we have no diplomacy, but our intelligence chain has not spread to all parts of the star field. We can't receive any information and can't make blind guesses. I intuitively feel that the other side's queen has not done nothing in the past month. She may have solved most of the problems. This is a very dangerous period, many generals nodded. This was not something difficult to understand. More than a month had passed. As long as the other side's queen was not a tyrant, she would be able to handle many things. Now he was already in a period of exhaustion, so there was no need to continue. In fact, both the queen and Xia Guixuan underestimated the war sense of these famous generals. Everyone's thinking direction and judgment mode were different. As early as when the queen was still in the Mushroom Star region to deal with the god of plunder, Gongsun Jiu's internal meeting had already made preparations for evacuation. But, Gongsun Jiu looked at the red star on the screen and whispered, before that, we must solve this matter. This was the biggest discovery during this trip to the Slorge Star region. A void that seemed to have nothing in it might not be discovered, even if you passed by it. But in order to draw a star map and find out every state in the void, everyone always turned on the detector to scan for any abnormal reaction, and finally discovered the abnormality here. Behind what seemed to be nothing, there was actually a narrow void crack hidden in the overlap, like a wormhole channel, and like a node leading to another plane, but in fact it was neither. The energy detector showed that the energy reaction inside was very dangerous. First of all, it was messy. There might be countless layers of broken spaces intertwined. I tried to put it into the detector, but it was crushed before I went in. It was almost divided into different dimensions. There were countless broken spaces intertwined outside, forming a terrible natural barrier. It was uncertain whether there were man-made traps in it. If it was the dark demon that Gongsun Jiu imagined, there must be. Secondly, it was dark. The detector showed that the concentration of dark energy in the universe here was far higher than anywhere else I had seen before. Just by brushing the surface, I could feel the overwhelming darkness, evil, secretive, thrilling, violent, intertwined, indescribable, incomprehensible, and indescribable. The director of the Intelligence Analysis Department had only one analogy for this: it's like an eternal nightmare. Countless times I want to wake up but can't. Gongsun Jiu knew that this description, like the Cthulhu myth, was probably where the dark demon was. The two are essentially the same thing, negative and shadow. Guangxin Jiu had the idea of looking for this place before he set out. He knew that it would be very likely to be found by scanning the star field in order to draw a star map, and he did find it. It might not be as fast as someone coming here in person to cover it with their divine sense, but it was more accurate and direct than calculation. Marshall, do we have to explore this place? This may just be a natural state of the universe. Although we have never seen similar records. Let's record it and analyze it. If we go out to attack this area in the future, we should be careful to avoid it. That will be meaningful, right? No way, Guangxin Jiu said calmly. You have also come into contact with Zelt captives before. You should know that they have become more violent and crazy than before. This is the influence of this thing, but Marshall, even if it is true, it seems that it will not harm us? Zelt's violent madness means that it is not calm and rational enough. On the surface, it seems to be more fearless and more difficult to deal with. In fact, for war, it should be considered a disadvantage. And it is likely to affect the internal atmosphere of Zelt, and it will gradually begin to degenerate and become chaotic. Guangxin Jiu sighed. You are right, but what you said is based on the fact that this energy is only passive? Yu Guiheng was horrified. Marshall, what do you mean? This thing will come out on its own. The generals all changed color. Once it comes out on its own, everyone has analyzed this kind of energy. Just the surface makes people feel suffocated and irresistible. Once it comes out on its own, Zelt has the queen to fight against. What does Kanglongsing have? Even if there are people on Kanglong Star who can fight against it, this great power is no different from another kind of shadow. Everyone shared the same thought. Our technology has reached a bottleneck. I not only have to solve this problem, but also use it to analyze the so-called taking power of the descendants of gods. We must take the initiative to study ways to fight against this power and establish the next step of technology. Otherwise, the descendants of gods will eventually have the taking path, and Queen Zelter will also have the possibility of evolution. What will happen to mankind then? The generals were stunned, and their expressions were a little serious. Guangxin Jiu finally explained, the dark energy here is a taking level monster. It is in an extremely weak stage of being injured. If we miss this opportunity, there will never be such a good opportunity again. This is another strategic significance of this expedition. The generals were silent for a moment, but still expressed their support. Since the Marshal has had this idea for a long time, he should have considered it comprehensively. Please give the order. The Zelt Third Fleet and the Guardian Corps have just been repelled by us. We can take the initiative to provoke them and try to annihilate this fresh force. This is in line with our previous tactics. Guangxin Jiu lowered his voice. After luring them into battle, we will pretend to be defeated, lure them to this dark energy area, and I will let Zelt's warships blast open this shadow road in the broken space for us. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197, Fake Defeat. At this time, Zelter had not even reorganized a pirate group. It is difficult to make the military work immediately, especially in Star Wars. The changes in command and communication modes alone require a period of adjustment. It is even more impossible for the new pirate fleet to immediately reach a tacit cooperation with the original Zelter army, and even the degree of trust is questionable. The only way to use it immediately is to form another army for sneak attacks, and Marshal Zelter has also arranged it this way. Because there is no time to do more reorganization, the Daxia Galaxy fleet has already come to the door. Is Guangxin Jiu getting cocky? Marshal Luoz of the Zelt war zone was sneering. He couldn't possibly know that we had just arrived at a fleet of tens of thousands of pirates, and it was the most famous and fierce Sky Tribulation pirate group in the Starfield. I was still planning how to lure him out, but he actually came to the door on his own. It's normal for him to get cocky after winning consecutive battles before. A beastman commander who looked like a giant crab sneered. After all, he is only a life of 28 or 29 years old, as small as an ant in the universe. Luoz glanced at it, with a slight contempt in his eyes, but he didn't say it directly, just said, "In your opinion, how should we respond to Guangxin Jiu's attack?" After saying this, both of them were silent. Although they said that Guangxin Jiu was cocky, in fact, everyone felt a little scared in their hearts. They were scared by Guangxin Jiu this month. The war images that Xia Guixuan saw, According to Masaji's statement, we'll have a big deviation, but in fact, in this case alone, the deviation is really not big. The fact is that Zelter has won battles and victories for a month. He has drawn many batches of reinforcements from various regions, but Gongsun Jiayu used the time difference to play various tactics, ambushes and attacks on reinforcements to make them defeated. The Galaxy Fleet has never been defeated in the 5,000 light-year star field. It is obvious that it has penetrated deep into the enemy territory and made it feel like home. The so-called god-killing priest group seems to be useless. The Daxia humans have a lot of experience with this kind of creatures with super individual combat power. This priest group has more people than the godborn priests, and its high-end hard power is not as good as the godborn Wuxiang. After even the god-killing priest group failed to work, Zelter has no earth idioms, otherwise it would be a child who dares not cry at night. Recently, the defense has been contracted and the Slorg energy base has been occupied. Zelter organized 3 tide-like attacks, all of which were defeated. Among them are the 2 commanders and deputy commanders present, who just knelt down to apologize to the queen. Facing such an enemy, who wouldn't be a little nervous? Boom! As the Galaxy flagship fired the first energy-focusing photon cannon, the battle had already begun. This is the main force of the Galaxy Fleet. Luo Zhe looked at the enemy's military strength and was surprised and happy. Gongsun Jiayu wants to defeat us in one battle. He must be afraid of reinforcements and wants to make a quick decision, but he doesn't know that the reinforcements are looking on the side. The Xianji pirates listened to the order. Feedback came from the communicator. The Xianji pirates are waiting for orders. Send out 1,000 fast attack fleets to sneak attack the energy base behind Gongsun Jiayu. He doesn't have many defense troops left. This kind of sneak attack is what you are good at. The pirates laughed. Yes, the rest of the main forces are divided into 2 wings, lurking and don't take any action. When the main forces of our legion are in a stalemate, listen to my orders to encircle and harass. Luo Zhe clenched his fists suddenly. Gongsun Jiayu's lifelong reputation will be lost in this battle. The plan is actually very conventional, but in theory, it is indeed very effective. As long as Gongsun Jiayu doesn't know the existence of the pirate group, he will be dead. Maybe the rear base will be stolen, and he will have nowhere to go home, and it will be difficult to even return to Kanglong Star. Could Gongsun Jiayu know about the existence of the pirate group? Impossible. Then this battle can be won without fighting. Steel warships were like clouds and rain, and photon artillery fire intertwined in the universe, illuminating the dark star field. Gongsun Jiayu stood in front of the light screen with his hands behind his back, his expression calm. It's really the main force that has been deployed, and it looks like they are fighting in the field with all their strength. There is no sign of retreating to rely on various celestial fortifications, Yu Giheng said. They were just defeated by us, and it is impossible for them to have the confidence to fight so hard. There must be an ambush on the flank, and their reinforcements are coming. Gongsun Jiayu smiled slightly. They think we don't know. We really don't know what they are coming, but we have never been unprepared. Yu Giheng also smiled. Everyone had wanted to withdraw a long time ago. How could they not know? In fact, the idea of luring the enemy to pretend to be defeated was based on the assumption that the other side had strong reinforcements. The reinforcements suddenly appeared and the side was shocked, so it was logical to pretend to be defeated. Otherwise, according to the previous invincible situation, people would have to believe in the pretended defeat. Of course, it was also a risky move, based on Gongsun Jiayu's absolute confidence in his on-the-spot operation. After all, you don't even know what the other side has done, and it is dangerous to be prepared. But there is no gambling in war, more or less. Xia Guixuan saw it clearly, so much so that even wanting to tip off the enemy, he felt that it was meaningless. Gongsun Jiayu didn't want to rely on him, Xia Guixuan, so he didn't rely on him, and he would bear the success or failure himself. This kind of war game is also an art that can be observed. If you are more knowledgeable, you can see it more carefully and gain more. Now you can only see the general outline, which is already very interesting. He didn't do anything else, just found a distant celestial body to hide, and took the time to use the 2 things he just stole to sacrifice the sword of Gente. Ling Moxu defended him seriously. She knew in her heart that the real decisive battle was coming. She didn't know if the 3rd level of Kaianin she had just upgraded was enough to be a cannon fodder. Boom! The energy cannons intertwined in the starry sky, and several flying crabs as big as mountains were blown to pieces. Green blood spurted out and sprinkled on the frigates on the flank of the Galaxy Fleet. The Valkyrie frigate group was hit by the flesh and blood magic, and the corrosion was slow. Do you want to start the energy dissolution? Energy dissolution preparation. Target 100,000 kilometers in the void ahead. All upper and lower coordinates are covered. Start. Yes, the main cabin was extremely busy. Different fleets and different arms played different roles. Energy was not infinite and had to be used in the most precise places. The vast white mist gushed out, and the void became illusory. The frigate that was slowed by the flesh and blood did not dissolve and left the fleet alone. But the vast white mist seemed to predict it, rushing to the position in the void, spreading from that piece of void, and all turned into frost. As long as it is energy, it can be frozen. One of the highest energy utilizations of Zelter is absolute freezing. As long as it is hide a little, the whole fleet will be destroyed. But the disintegrator was activated in advance, and the energy disintegrated and scattered like stars, and it lost its effect just a few kilometers in front of the fleet. This is a collision of the highest technology between the two sides. To be honest, humans are still inferior and need such a prediction. Once an inexperienced commander is replaced, it may be a big defeat. Now, Gongsun Jiu said decisively, the Poseidon and Pluto support ships will quickly support the retreat of the Valkyrie personnel. The Valkyrie will give up. The opponent will be at this time, almost at the same time, Luoze communicated, the pirate ships on both wings have been inserted, and the opponent's frigates have been separated from the team and the formation is not in order. Just after the energy dissipation is activated, the energy reaction will also be disordered and cooled. The full army will attack at this time. In the void on both wings, dots of light appeared. In the void that seemed to be nothing, layers of golden warships appeared from nowhere, swarming like locusts. At almost the same time, the Galaxy fleet had already turned around and fled to the rear. The lonely Valkyrie was abandoned, countless golden lights shot at the ship, and it exploded tragically in the void, and it was obvious that everyone inside was dead. The Galaxy fleet did not even have time to rescue its important frigates, and fled in panic. Rose's information band was transmitted to the void. Gongsun Jiu, do you really think that the Great Queen will ignore the situation here? You fell into the trap. If you surrender honestly, you can still leave some seeds for you humans from Kanglong Star. The Galaxy fleet did not respond and retreated to the energy base, and then seemed to find something strange halfway, and temporarily changed direction, looking extremely panicked. The base behind you has long been gone, and you only found out now. Isn't your information report too late? Rose was extremely sarcastic and continued to order, Chase. Don't let them get away. In fact, Rose himself did not have time to receive feedback from the pirate ship that attacked Gongsun Jiu's energy base. Because of the location problem, the signal over there was disrupted and intercepted by the Galaxy fleet, and it could not be transmitted in a short time. The information that Luoze received at this time was filtered, and the earliest band was transmitted. Successfully captured the energy base. Mission accomplished. The intercepted feedback was: Marshal Luoze, the energy base is empty. Even the energy wells were blown up in advance. The other party didn't want this base at all. Chapter 198. Luoze didn't know this. He was chasing the galactic fleet with all his strength. The Galaxy fleet, which had been wreaking havoc in the Slorge war zone for more than a month, was fleeing in a panic. The Zelt coalition was chasing closely behind them, and from time to time, a few cannons hit the Galaxy fleet's stern ships, exploding and sinking. The cruelty of space warfare lies in that everything is silent. There will not be the same vigorous battles on the ground, no artillery fire, no shock. If you hear a boom explosion, it is most likely made up in your mind, a subconscious imagination. Yes, this kind of explosion has no sound at all, and conventional sounds have no medium to be transmitted. Everyone's communication relies on special bands, not loudspeakers. And the wreckage after the explosion will not fall, but quietly float in the void, floating, like a quiet ghost, distorted and unreal. So no matter how tragic the space battle is, people feel that it is a silent movie, difficult to get involved, and dead silent. And the vastness and pressure that could shock you originally, after seeing it too much, that's it, the passion of life can cool down day by day in such a battle. Watching death indifferently, watching explosions without any thoughts, everything is a silent film, everything is an image, gradually turning oneself into a person without mood swings, or a madman in depression. In a sense, Gongsun Jiu is a madman. It's just that her madness is hidden under the calmest appearance and the most rational thinking. Perhaps only in the game can the true joy, anger, sorrow and joy be released. But she thought she had released it to the fullest, but in fact, it was still dominated by reason, sober even she didn't want to admit it. Marshal Roosevelt looked at the flames that exploded one after another in front of him, and for a moment he thought, would this be a false defeat? Because the opponent is still too organized, even if the ship was sunk, the fleet did not see chaos, and a real rout would not be like this. But it's not surprising to think about it. After all, the opponent is a famous commander of mankind. Guangxin Jiayu, who made Zelt smoke everywhere, has the most elite galactic fleet under his command. It is understandable that he is defeated but not chaotic. Besides, it was not a direct defeat, but the other party found out that they were ambushed and retreated in advance, which was even more normal. In the final analysis, perhaps it was the desire for credit that affected his calmness. That was the galaxy fleet that had been raging for more than a month, and how many of Zelter's troops had been sunk. Considering the ability of the orcs to split and reproduce, Gongsun Jiayu had more than 1 million bloodshed in his hands during this period. If he could really kill this man or even capture him in one battle and destroy the galaxy fleet, what a brilliant achievement that would be! With a desire for credit, the little bit of uneasiness disappeared, increased to the highest speed. Phase orbital guns ready. Phase orbit, Zelter's special space ability, can make all barriers in the space where the orbit passes lose their effect. To put it in a vulgar way, it is like wall-penetrating technique, and to put it in a deeper way, it is actually to fold the space in front to form a direct line. This technology is actually harmful when used on the artillery of warships. If the orbital gun passes through the opponent's warship, the warship will be directly folded into different blocks by space. At this time, of course, it is a dual-purpose method that combines damage and acceleration to open the way, which is very suitable. Unfortunately, they only have the flagship equipped with this technology. They can't fire all the cannons at once, and they dare not mess around with this space. They can only fight one-on-one, and use this cannon on the blade. That is the galaxy flagship. Luoza stared at the light curtain. In the center of the light curtain, the figure of the galaxy flagship was clearly enlarged. A blue dragon-shaped pattern was carved on the bow and stern of the ship. Luoza knew that it was not the symbol of the blue dragon star, but the symbol of the human immigrants themselves. They call themselves descendants of the dragon. Maybe this is their indissoluble bond with the blue dragon star? This thought flashed through Luoza's mind, and he didn't think much about it. He focused his main attention on the distance displayed on the screen. The distance between the two ships is less than 200,000 kilometers. For the distance in space, it is very close, closer than the distance from many planets to satellites. The maximum range of the phase railgun is 200,000 kilometers, but the effect is not necessarily good. The best range is about 120,000 kilometers. Getting closer and closer, 180,000 kilometers, 150,000 kilometers, 130,000. Watching the numbers slowly get smaller, the galaxy flagship on the screen became clearer and clearer. Luoza suppressed his trembling voice and said calmly, "Ready. Fire." Almost at the same time, Guangxin Jiayu quietly looked at the distance display of the pursuers on the screen and said lightly, "Disperse, sink." The same 4 syllables, the two sides, 120,000 kilometers apart, spoke at the same time and finished at the same time. Swish, an invisible, traceless and colorless track rushed out from the muzzle of the Zelter flagship and approached the back of the galaxy flagship in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the tens of thousands of fleets and fighters of the galaxy fleet, which were originally in a tight formation, instantly dispersed like flowers, and drew a wonderful arc in unison, as if bypassing a specific part in front and circling. The galaxy flagship suddenly fell downwards, revealing a seemingly normal void in front. The invisible and traceless track rushed out just above the galaxy flagship, and the track did not stop, continuing to move forward, and then bombarded the void. Surprisingly, it stopped moving forward, as if there was some terrible obstruction in the void, blocking the phase orbit that even the galaxy flagship could not withstand. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. The Zelt fleet, including Rose himself, didn't even react to what happened. The orbital gun had already hit the void. It seemed as if a creaking sound could be heard in the vacuum. I don't know if it was a psychological effect or if this strange sound had surpassed the transmission medium. Before everyone could react, the void burst out with thousands of black rays, and counterattacked all over the sky. Guangxin Jiayu clenched his palms tightly and could feel sweat. Success. Knowing that in this kind of pursuit, The best thing the opponent can use is the phase orbital gun, and the characteristics of the phase orbital gun may just restrain the chaotic space in the rift and sort out the messy broken planes into track. And the formations or various counterattack prohibitions artificially arranged by the dark demons inside will also be triggered, and all will be borne by Zelt. It was worth a fake defeat. He abandoned many warships and put himself in a dangerous situation. The fake defeat could turn into a real defeat at any time. But this crazy move was successful. Xia Guixuan in the distance put away his sword and opened his eyes. He had to admire this arrangement, because he himself was quite afraid of the rift. The messy plane chaos and the artificial restrictions combined together made it always a troublesome matter to enter. But he didn't expect that it would be solved like this. Yes, his divine sense could sense that it was indeed solved. The chaotic space fragments in the rift had been sorted into a flat phase channel. And it was Zelter who fired the phase railgun and endured the counterattack of the restriction. Thousands of black rays roared out, and the pirate ships that were chasing the human fleet were the first to bear the brunt. In the blink of an eye, thousands of them were hit, and without even a spark, they turned into flying ash and corroded. The black rays did not stop, and continued to fly, covering all Zelter's warships and flying creatures. The Zelts didn't even know what the black light was, how to crack it and deal with it, and they didn't even have time to dodge it. The whole army was wiped out. At the critical moment, Luo Zhao didn't even have time to shout orders. He rushed to the control console and pressed a button. The vast 100,000 miles, including the entire Zelt army and the black light that was so close, all energy reactions were frozen. Looking around, it was like coming to a galaxy made of frost. Absolutely frozen. They actually used this trip to save themselves. I didn't expect it. Gongsun Jiayu's eyes flashed with admiration. Although he fell into our trap, he is still a great man. Yu Gihan was sweating coldly. Break the ice? If there is no external force to break it, they can freeze themselves in it for 100 years and wait for the queen to save them. But if we break it for them, our energy, we don't have time to deal with them. Gongsun Jiayu whispered, do you feel it? The roar in the crack seems to come from the Nine Nether Hell. We have awakened the sleeping demon god who was healing. To be honest, no one felt it. Before and after this expedition, the marshal's mental power did become strangely high. I really don't know where it came from. But everyone was still very excited. The descendants of the Kanglong Star God are at most cultivators, not the indescribable high-dimensional life in the legend. And this cosmic demon god is obviously. Someone licked his dry lips, and there was a hint of ferocity in his voice. I have fought battles all my life, but I didn't expect to fight this kind of thing again. I don't believe that this kind of thing can really be immortal. Recommend last year's annual dog food king Guan Wu Ai's new book Actors Have No Holidays. Guan Chen, who had worked hard all his life in his previous life, came here and planned to give himself a long vacation. The first step is to sell all the acting books in the house for money. Chapter 199. The yellow bird probe entered the crack space and could clearly see the environment inside. It was a space crack that was blasted out by someone unknown. It could be roughly compared to the interlayer of something. But the more I looked at it, the more frightened I became. The so-called interlayer was much, much larger than I had imagined. It was like an endless abyss, with no visible surroundings or end. The probe flew aimlessly for a long, long time, and could not see anything, only eternal darkness. In the darkness, a little bit of faint red fluorescence suddenly lit up. It was like there were two stars in the distant universe that flickered. The dark red blended into the night, and it was unclear, mysterious and dangerous. That was the eyes of the dark demon. The probe disappeared silently, and the visible light screens of all the warships went out. The soldiers who were excited and passionate just now had frozen expressions on their faces, and everyone felt a sense of fear in their hearts. It was not that they were scared by such an extinguishing, but they were scared unconsciously, without knowing why. As if the courage they had experienced in hundreds of battles disappeared at this moment. Many people trembled all over, and even their teeth were trembling. Looking around, all I saw were pale faces and frightened eyes. It's not that everyone is afraid of it, Gongsun Jiayu said calmly, this is just its characteristic, it evokes the negativity in your heart to the extreme. When people face the unknown powerful things, there is a natural subconscious fear. We, the soldiers who have experienced many battles, will suppress it deeply in our hearts, but it will not disappear. This demon can amplify it, that's all. She paused and said word by word, it is bluffing, because it has been seriously injured, and its actual strength at this time may not be comparable to that of the Fox King back then. If the main force of the galaxy fleet is still there, it will not be able to deal with such a seriously injured creature. After it recovers, everyone will have no resistance. All troops listen to my order. Her personal strength may not be even as good as that of an old soldier, but when everyone was trembling, her voice was as calm as frost, and it spread to every main cabin of tens of thousands of warships. The opponent is not a pure spiritual body, but a collection of dark energy, supported by an energy body. Use the strongest energy cannons carried by each of us to bombard this rift together. We can even shatter this space, and its body cannot survive. It must come out, and no matter what kind of mental attack it is actually a kind of wave band transmission. The EMP shock wave is aimed at the space crack. When the space is broken, we need to shatter the mental wave band transmission, otherwise it may come to each of us. Ready, fire, endless void, thousands of points of light. In front of tens of thousands of warships of different types, lights of different colors lit up at the same time. It was as if tens of thousands of stars were shining in the night sky. Countless fusion nuclear bombs soared into the sky and fell in, and our countless concentrated light cannons exhausted their reserve energy. For the first time, all the war technology crystallizations of the Kanglong star human beings for hundreds of years launched the strongest attack on a point. It was a force that was enough to destroy the stars and shatter the space. Everyone believed that it was impossible for a life to withstand such an attack. Not to mention that it was a seriously injured life. The light of the explosion blocked all sights. Even the warship detection radar could not sense what happened at the center of the explosion. The EMP shock wave descended in the center of the light, so even any wave band transmission had lost its meaning. People could clearly feel that the space that was like the abyss of the underworld had been shattered, and it was impossible for life to survive in it. They could also clearly feel that their fear had disappeared, indicating that the other party's spiritual influence had been isolated. Victory? No, not really. A strange thought emerged in everyone's mind. Your energy is indeed okay, but the research on the spirit is still far from enough. If taking's thoughts can be dispersed by this kind of shock wave, then what kind of taking is it? Ha. You can't understand taking at all. Why doesn't your father God come? As the thoughts spread, everyone found that the scene around them disappeared. It was as if they were not on the battleship, but as if everyone was in another empty plane, facing the vast darkness alone. Only Gongsun Jiayu's spiritual power could barely sense it. It was not like that. It was not that everyone was in a different plane, but that the thoughts of the dark demon could not be dispersed by the shock wave, nor could they be isolated by the external wave band of the battleship, and enter the battleship without any holes. Then, of course, there was energy inside the battleship. Where there is energy, there are positive and negative poles, and there is dark energy. This dark energy was stripped off separately and formed a new body for the dark demon. Now everyone is all in the dark demon's body? This is taking. Even if he is seriously injured and dying, it is still not something that ordinary humans can understand. The technology of external objects is indeed very powerful, but external objects are external objects after all. When external objects lose their function, you will find how fragile you are when facing your own flesh. Ling Moxa asked Xia Guixuan nervously, Master, do you want to save the marshal? He is not on good terms with you, but, Xia Guixuan smiled, he can't die. My thoughts are also protecting their entire cabin. The dark demon can't break my divine protection in its current state. It's too weak. The bombardment of humans just now actually caused it very serious damage. It's just pretending. Ling Moxu was very curious, then why did the master protect it from a distance and not take action against the dark demon? Because there are more interesting things. Wait and see. The dark demon was indeed so weak that it could only be equivalent to Wuxiang at most. But once it enters the cabin, facing the human body that has lost the support of the warship, it still has a great advantage. In fact, it is not easy, because the humans in the cabin are all very strong genetic warriors, and the highest Yugihang is even a level 6 warrior, the strongest in Daksha. The others are all level 4 and 5 warriors. Each of them is very strong, but unfortunately, at the level of spiritual thoughts, the genetic warriors have never been good at it. At this moment, the dark demon does not even dare to use the invincible power to wreak havoc and kill people, and it cannot win even if it does. Its routine is to let everyone else temporarily fall into the exile state, and then quickly deal with Gongsun Jiayu, the leader. In other words, it is really just a little bit short. If Gongsun Jiayu's personal strength can reach the level of Yan Wuyu, there is a chance to win this battle. It's a pity that Gongsun Jiayu is not Yan Wuyu. Failed in the end, looking at the dark energy body laughing wildly in front of him, Gongsun Jiayu smiled slightly. No, not failed. You are so weak that you dare not fight head-on. The method of plain exile you used is still escapable. As long as I can hold on for a while, General Yu and the others will break free, and you can't win. The dark demon was stunned. You can actually see through it? Your spiritual power. Gongsun Jiayu did not answer. The dark demon laughed again. Maybe you are right, so what? Even if all these people break free from exile, I can still escape to another place. You want to kill taking with your mere human technology? Haha. Ho-ha-ho-ha? Gongsun Jiayu was silent, and there was still some regret in his eyes. Yes, the real goal is to study the power of taking, but now it seems that the gap is very large. I don't want to rely on him. But if I don't rely on him, it really won't work. My stubbornness was originally intended for the future of mankind, but the direct result was that it pitied mankind? But he said nothing, but the straight military uniform on his body suddenly turned into an iron battlesuit, and the iron gun was already in his hand. Bang! A shot was fired, the dark demon's body shook slightly, and Gongsun Jiayu rushed into the cabin. As long as it can delay for a while, General Yu and the others will wake up, then even if I am killed, it doesn't matter. The fleet will eventually return under the leadership of General Yu, and the human race will still win this expedition. It's just the death of a young and arrogant marshal, he deserves it. As soon as the body rushed into the cabin, it couldn't move. Because there is also dark energy in front, as long as there is energy, it is the territory of the dark demon. The dark demon didn't waste words, the endless darkness was like a prison, binding her in place, and then squeezing her madly, trying to explode her into meat paste directly. The dark demon said, huh? Xia Guixuan's divine mind protection. Gongsun Jiayu's expression moved slightly. He cares about you so much? Ha ha ha. The terrifying god at the top of taking cares about an ant like human marshal? Ha ha ha, interesting. I suddenly think you are better alive than dead. As the voice, the stars moved. When Gongsun Jiayu could see the surroundings clearly, she was no longer on the battleship, but on a desolate celestial body in the distance. The twisted energy body of the dark demon slowly condensed into an octopus-like soft body in front of her, and laughed up to the sky. I was afraid that Xia Guixuan would come to me. Since he values you, the human marshal, so much, how dare he touch me with you in his hand? Ho-ha ho-ha, I dare to touch you. A lazy female voice came from nowhere. The dark demon's laughter seemed to be cut off, and he looked at the distance in shock. Queen Zelda was suspended in the sky, and behind her was a dense group of god-slaying priests. Gongsun Jiayu narrowed her eyes slightly. The god-slaying priests did not participate in the war in the later period, but it turned out that their arrival was never for the galactic fleet, but for the shadow demon. I originally wanted to make both you and the humans lose, but you are even more useless than I thought. You only dare to take hostages? The queen shook her head and chuckled, her expression disappointed and contemptuous. You say, do I need to care about the life and death of a human marshal? My sleep has been disrupted recently, and I am not so punctual. It will be fine after my period is over. Chapter 200. The truth. The dark demon's expression changed drastically. The biggest difference between Queen Zelter and her priests and the people of Daxia is that they have different understandings of the soul. Perhaps their total strength is not as strong as the roar of tens of thousands of warships just now, but they can really prevent it from escaping. Especially now that it has been bombarded by the galaxy fleet and is so weak that it dares not even kill the soldiers in the ship and run away with the hostages. Facing this group of people again, it really has little confidence. The priests have been scattered and distributed irregularly in the void, surrounding the celestial body. A pure white electric life opened its arms, and a dark blue light enveloped the body of the dark demon. Zelter's light energy magic, energy backlash. A dark red life clenched its hands lightly, and a bloody light spread around the dark demon. Zelter's dark energy magic, mental confusion. Zelter has already made a close approach to the study of energy bodies and spiritual bodies, which is the basis of killing gods. A strange bag-like life form opened its net, and green venom was sprinkled all over the celestial body. Zelter's flesh and blood magic, life decay. This is the decline of the vitality shared by all life, and the 5 decays of the gods and Buddhas cannot be avoided. Countless high-level temples are stacked one after another, and the solemn chanting breaks through the barrier of the vacuum, like the eternal Sanskrit sound, roaring and exploding. The solid body of the celestial body has not even raised a speck of dust, but the dark demon's painful roar has shaken the earth. This is even more threatening to it than the last time Xia Guixuan rode his horse to sprint. That time, it was just a distraction anyway. This time it is the real body. Once it really dies, it will be extinction. Guangxin Jiu sighed in a low voice. The god-slaying priest group, it turns out that they do this kind of thing. They deal with life, and have little to do with steel battleships. I was so cautious before, but I was wrong. You asked them to come to Slorge to deal with me, but it was just an excuse to deceive people. In fact, it was an excuse to hunt down the dark demons. The queen's eyes fell on her, smiling. You are very powerful, young marshal. If you surrender to me, no need to say the rest. I am still very happy to be praised. Guangxin Jiu smiled slightly, although the final goal failed because of my stubbornness. But in terms of this battle between you and me, humans won. I am very satisfied. The queen must admit that humans did win. The dark demons here are definitely not easy to deal with, and it will take a while to solve them. Before the battle is over, humans have already escaped from the dark demon exile. As long as there is a deputy marshal or a respected general who can understand the situation and quickly organize the fleet to retreat, then this time the Battle of Slorge between humans and Zelter can be said to be a great victory. The Zelts suffered heavy casualties, and the resources in the war zone were plundered or destroyed. It was unknown how long it would take to recover. Humans broke through the blockade of hundreds of years, gained contact with the outside world, accurately mapped the war zone star map, returned with a full load of resources, and trained a group of battle-hardened divisions. From then on, the offense and defense were exchanged. Only a marshal died. But in this sense, humans also lost. The queen did not believe that humans who lost Guangxin Jiu would be as difficult and aggressive as they are now. This battle was not because she and the god-slaying priest group did not want to participate in the war, but deliberately let Guangxin Jiu go for the dark demon plan. On the contrary, it was because she and the priest group were not good at military affairs, and she was indeed as Xia Guixuan judged. She was in charge of the central brain control layer by layer, and she could not play too strong a role in this place. If she really participated in the war, she would be a group of high-level soldiers. Although there were many special skills. But in terms of the war role of the battleship, the effect was not so ideal, but it was cowardly. So it was because they watched their own army fail to defeat the human fleet that they went to the Mushroom Star to carry out some operations, deter other forces, and recruit the pirate fleet to continue fighting against humans. It was indeed forced into a very embarrassing situation by Guangxin Jiu, and they were trying their best to deal with it. But the queen also discovered that Guangxin Jiu's ambition was not only in the war itself, he seemed to be looking for the dark demon. After discovering this, the queen formulated the idea of letting the human fleet and the dark demon lose both sides, and she would pick peaches. It can be regarded as a wonderful back and forth. Unexpectedly, the human fleet did not lose both sides with the dark demon, because the blasting of the Chaos Rift was actually done by the Zelt battleship to go to the mines. The human fleet was intact, and the queen almost died of anger. Fortunately, the final result was not bad. This difficult human marshal had a fatal flaw after all. He could not understand Taking's ability, could not understand such a high-dimensional life form, violated the military principle of knowing oneself and the enemy, and the formulated policy was bound to have problems. No one is perfect. This is indeed his overconfidence and radicalism caused by his long-term victory. But people can grow. He is still young. When he becomes more mature, it will be terrible. Just as she was distracted, she heard a muffled groan from a high-level temple priest. The queen turned her head and saw that the dark demon had gone berserk. Countless dark tentacles roared and danced wildly in the starry sky, like countless black holes pouring out. It was obviously a seriously injured and weak demon god, but it actually blasted out stars all over the sky. Several high-level temple priests couldn't bear it, spurted blood and retreated, and the formation began to become chaotic. The human warships that were slightly closer had been blown up, and the flames were quickly swallowed by the darkness. Guangxin Jiu's eyes moved again. Taking is taking after all, the queen said calmly. Young marshal, do you know that you are reckless? Guangxin Jiu sighed. Yes, I blame myself. You have no chance. The queen smiled. I originally wanted to persuade you to surrender, so I asked them to hold back a little and not include you in the attack range. But now it seems that we can't control it. Goodbye, respectable human marshal. As the voice sounded, the slender hand slightly raised. Endless lightning intertwined every corner of the dark demon's body, illuminating the dark universe, and even the dark demon's body was invisible. Zelter Energy Storm. Several priests cooperated with the queen and activated the same skills at the same time. For a moment, the mad thunder and lightning killed, and almost the entire star field was only the color of lightning, white, purple, red and blue intertwined together, beautiful and magnificent. The tentacles of the dark demon were visibly broken into pieces, and the most basic dark energy of the universe was disintegrated and spread in the void without shape. Guangxin Jiayu, who was controlled by the dark demon like an ant, how could he survive in such a terrifying storm? Yes. Guangxin Jiayu had already closed his eyes and waited for death, but suddenly he felt that he was hugged by someone. He was stunned for a moment, and turned his eyes stiffly. In the violent electric current that intertwined the entire space, Xia Guixuan's profile flickered, with a slight smile. Guangxin Jiayu stood there in a daze. Xia Guixuan put one hand on his shoulders and protected him in his arms, slightly tilted his body to block in front of him, and gently pointed forward with the other hand. It seemed that light and darkness were rotating in front of him, quickly circling, and turned into a shadow of Tai Chi, surrounding the two people in the middle. No matter how violent the lightning outside was, the space was as safe as a mountain, just like an ordinary person at home, with heavy rain outside and the grass and trees broken, but the fireplace at home was warm and someone was protecting you. Guangxin Jiayu seemed to have lost the ability to think, and just stared at him blankly. Xia Guixuan turned his head and glanced at him. He felt that the feeling of holding him like this was not right. He didn't look like a man, but a little soft. He had a vague guess in his heart that this was not the right time. He just said faintly, "You want to contribute to the future of mankind. I agree. I gave you the space to exert your best, but you failed," Guangxin Jiayu said although you and I have never said that, the superficial cooperation is that I am the main attacker to involve Zelter, so that you can do what you want, and you need to be responsible for the other party's queen. But you and I know that this is essentially a bet between you and me. When the dark demon kidnapped me, I lost a bet. You could have not saved me. Xia Guixuan smiled. You are not bad at allowing people to make mistakes. Guangxin Jiayu's eyes moved slightly, but he did not answer. This guy came to save people on purpose and said these words on purpose. In essence, he was saying, now the top and the bottom should be decided. Stubborn Marshal, this man who must be on top is not even trying to cooperate. Guangxin Jiayu suddenly wanted to laugh and felt that he was sometimes childish. The queen's chuckle came from the void. Father God of Kanglong Star. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Xia Guixuan looked up and smiled. You are still planning to hunt me? Where does your confidence come from? The queen's body, which had always been like a mist, gradually began to solidify, and a fossil suddenly appeared in her hand. The fossil had the appearance of blood flowing, as if it was becoming more and more alive. At the moment the fossil appeared, the dark demon let out a terrifying scream, and the celestial body under its feet shattered inch by inch, as if it was going to flee madly. But there seemed to be some suction force, first sucking in its violently overflowing energy, and then sucking in its soul, just like the scene of the plundering god before. The difference was that the plundering god at that time had to touch the fossil himself, while the dark demon only had the energy and divine thoughts that were scattered outside captured, and he could no longer escape. A huge blood-colored vortex could be seen circling between the fossil and the dark demon, like the deepest black hole. Xia Guixuan complained, the tentacles are too long, that's what they deserve. The queen was a little surprised. Aren't you surprised? Well, this thing upgrades quickly, sucked in a peak Wuxiang, and then sucked in a seriously injured taking, and then it should be enough to suck me. The queen was more and more surprised, so you know. Then why did you dare to enter? You should be able to see that in order to prevent the dark demon from escaping, I have set up time and space limits. Once you enter this area, you can't get out. You can't even attack me for a while. Is it just to save a human marshal? Guangxin Jiayu suddenly turned his head and looked at Xia Guixuan. But Xia Guixuan smiled slightly. I just think it's very interesting. Why do you always think that you can use my treasure to deal with me? Just because the last time the leader used my treasure to build a formation, I seem to have no way to deal with it. The queen narrowed her eyes. Xia Guixuan sighed. Actually, the head of state is the taking of Kindling Fantasy World. Although his cultivation has not caught up, his cognition is at their taking level. The formation he constructed is indeed very troublesome, but you are not. Not only are you not the real taking, But you even learned your formation cognition from me." The Empress's condensing human figure slowed down a little, and said lightly, "Why do you say that? You and I have never met, why deceive yourself?" Xia Guixuan said slowly, "Send your true body earlier. If you are late, the dark demon will break free. With your roughness, you shouldn't make such a mistake, don't you think?" Fox King Longyao, Gongsun Jiayu, who was nearby, and Ling Moxu, who was far away, widened their eyes in shock at the same time. As if there was some mysterious attraction, as Xia Guixuan's voice fell, the Empress's true body completely descended, and her face appeared at this time. It was exactly the same as the Fox King that Ling Moxu had seen in the heart of time. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.